All right, here we go. Guys, let me know how the audio is. I got to say, first of all, I want to say thanks to this panel. You know, I just literally told them about all the audio changes I've made on the mixer since we went live this past Monday. So what I need you guys in the audience to do, and you guys are not bashful at all, let me know how my audio is, and then let me know if you can hear the guests. So make sure that the audio is coming through. I need someone to give me a thumbs up, say audio is good, Mooch, because if not, I got to go back in and change a few things. So I appreciate that. Shout out to the great Jay Bari also, Mooch Maniac family member for 19 months. 19 months. Jay's got a room in the house at this point, okay? Jay's got his own room in the house. Hit that like button. Hashtag pray for Xbox. Audio's good by Seven Dragons. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Guys, while we kind of let everybody shuffle in, it's been one heck of a week for gaming. I saw Mega Cloud say, wow, you know, Mooch, you took one Thursday off 2 weeks ago, and now we get 2 episodes in 1 week. That's right. That's right. Cherry Boy, thank you. I appreciate that. You're good, Mooch. I appreciate it. Guys, now let me know once I introduce our first guest if you can hear them, because, my God, if you can't, they're the stars of the show, okay? They're the stars of the show. That being said, guys, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Your name comes up in lights. Outstanding. I got to say thank you so much. In the past week, I know for other channels, maybe not a big deal. I got to make a big deal out of it. 60 new subscribers in the past week. That's just, for me, look, that's a lot. I'm excited. I like it. You know, and we've got some big time YouTubers on the panel tonight for you guys, too. I'm very excited to talk games with these guys. Very excited. But if you'll take a second and look at that fantastic description down there. I know a lot of people don't write descriptions these days anymore. I feel it's very important to have a description. Makes people know they want to be here for the show before the show goes live or when they're checking it out later. But if you look right above that great description, you'll see the join button. That join button is how you get your name in lights. It's how your name turns green in the chat. It's how we start gaming together. It's great. It's great. You become part of the family. And it really does help the channel. It really does. Let me just take a second here, and I'll do it as fast as I can on this Thursday evening as we start. As we say in New York, we start an early weekend of gaming coming up. The great Judah Zook, Willie Gamer, Mumble Ranting Gaming, Tyson Webb 509, True Witty, Alfonso Carter, Brap, who might not be able to make it tonight. Very disappointed. Hopefully he can make it later on. Damien, the great Jimmy Harrison, Andy Hart, Red Hood 420, Ham Solo 5, Rob Jones, Night Ripper 7, Toto Dope, Thumbs, JC 2013, Passive Prophet, Lord Metroid, who's here, Rabbit Got the Gun, Fastbender, Archwar Angel, Biggity 08, Slow-Mo Backslap, and shout out also to the great Gaming Forte, who will be joining us hopefully in a few moments on the show before they both go live at 9 p.m. tonight for DPS Podcast. Henry Heck, Silent Merc, Slaying Chilean, Ice Queen Gaming, Otacon Ocelot. I think I'm saying it right. Love the guy. Great gamer. J-Row49. Our newest Mooch Maniac family member, really appreciate it, Jay. Thank you. Our major Mooch Maniacs, RPG88, who's always here. Christian the Bad Gamer, 4-Star General, Truth Serum, ya boy Roy, Scolari Brothers, DC Gaming, Miko, Jay Bari, who's here tonight and gaming with Persona. You guys know they're doing What's Up PlayStation Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That's how I start my Saturdays, and that's how I recommend you guys start yours. Tactical Gamer, Danelle Brown, That Guy Smitty, Brian B, a.k.a. Delirium Blades, and our VIP Mooch Maniacs, Raji, Domino Zero, the Wise Old Gamer, and our honorable mentions. I know they're out there. Without food, water, or toilet, come home. General Thad Ape and Shadow Assassin, and our forever Mooch Maniacs, Longshot 316, and the great Optimus Code. Okay, guys, here's the test. Absolutely number one to find out. We're going to go ahead and try it out. Mooch Maniac family member himself, the great Jay Bari. Jay, great to have you here. Jay, now, we're going to find out if they can hear you, which is extremely important on a podcast. Jay, how you doing tonight? Now, I don't know if Jay?
I don't hear him talking.
He left.
He left.
He had to reset his computer.
Okay, Craig, if you don't mind, the great the Messiah of Xbox is here as well. Craig, the tech guy. Craig, if you don't mind, while Jay resets his Xbox. A lot of people are saying I'm loud. I can fix that. That's a me problem.
Who's yelling?
Who's yelling? Apparently it's me. So Harlem, the PS Gamer, goes, Mooch is always loud. Is this your first time? Are you guys first time to the show? I apologize. I'm a little excited. Craig, how you doing tonight, buddy? And also, thanks for being here. Really, really appreciate it. You've been with us for the past 4 weeks here and absolutely killing it every single week. Craig, how you doing? And hopefully they can hear you.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Yeah, hopefully I sound 4x4. I appreciate the invite. I did the homework that you put into the into the Twitter messaging there. So yeah, I'm ready to. I downloaded Hellblade 2 after that red dot went away. So had to delete some stuff apparently. So I did not delete Mass Effect. I deleted something else. But yeah, glad to be here. Good topics, great panel. So I'll be here for a little bit. Let's rock and roll.
Well, we must have done something right, Craig. Not only did you do what you were doing right on your end, but the audio is spot on now. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and lower my volume a bit. I'll tweak that a little bit. I did play with my controls a bit in addition to being able to have everybody talk and everybody hear each other. That was a problem I was having with Discord for many, many, many months right now. So I watched a couple videos on it, and these guys are really here to support me tonight and give me a little bit of slack if audio's a little off. But I appreciate it, guys. We will adjust my sound as well. Now, let's try again. The great Jay Bari. Jay, apparently audio is working, which even though you were checking and resetting your computer, it may have been perfect timing. So, Jay, how you doing this evening?
Yeah, man. Shout out to Windows. Just promptly say, hey, update your joint. So I had to, just reset. But nah, man, appreciate the invite. What is good, everybody? It's going to be a good show. I'm seeing the title. I'm seeing the topics. And it's going to be interesting here, man. At the end of the day, for all the people that's in here, hit the like button, share the stream out, get the people in here, and let's have some fun with it, man.
Appreciate that, Jay. Well, the great David Faulkner is with us tonight, too. David, you reached out to me. I love it when this happens. I'm always out there trying to recruit, get people on the show. David says, Mooch, if you got some room, I'd love to come on the show. There's a lot of stuff going on in the news, and I want to talk about it. Dave, how is it over there in the Down Under? I think I'm saying it right. Is that correct? Is that the correct terminology, Down Under?
Yeah, that's correct. Down under, the bottom of the world. No, it's good. We're doing well. We made it to Friday. It's nearly lunchtime on Friday. We can see the weekend coming. I can see a weekend full of fighting my family for the PlayStation and the PC and then the Switch to be able to play something. It's a lovely day and doing well. It's just great to be able to be amongst people and have a good chat.
I appreciate you being here, David. I know you're going to have a lot to add to the show. I got the great Gamers Gamut with us, too. Gamut, you're always there. We got to come up with another name. I love Gamers Gamut for you, but you're like 911, buddy. You're absolutely 911. This man can podcast on the drop of a dime. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's literally gaming while I'm writing him, being like, hey, can you do a podcast about gaming? He's like, yeah, what game do you want to talk about? So the great Gamut is back with us. And, buddy, we have a lot of hot topics, and we do have a couple of games that drop. One, a demo. New game drops today. A lot of talk about it out there. I want to get your take on it. How you doing this evening?
Good, man. How are you doing? Hopefully chat is ready to enjoy the show. It's been a really crazy week. My head is already swimming on the topics that we're going to talk about. It's been pretty wild, so this should be pretty interesting. So we got a great panel. We got Jay Bari and RGT. This should be a good one. This should be. I'm ready to go.
That's going to be great, buddy.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here we go. Let me tell you something right now. Now, I'm probably going to have to yell into the mic for this one. It's been so long to get him back on the show. Guys, it's so long. But I miss him on the show so much. The great Noof Nukem. You guys know him as Boom Boom Kaboom. Noof is back in the room. Noof, honestly, you've absolutely taken to Twitter and stormed the past, 7 days? And it's been unbelievable. I've loved every tweet you put out there because I know you personally behind the scenes for almost 10 years now. And to see how much you love gaming and what has transpired in the past week, I know has really gotten you. And I said, I got to get Noof on the show. Noof, welcome back to Crossfire, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Noof Nukem. It's good to be here, Mooch, man. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and it's been too long in the making. I've been trying to work my schedule around things, and oddly enough, I actually had the last 2 Fridays off because I've been asking my boss to get off early on some of these Fridays so I could do Crossfire, and then you go move the show to Thursday night. I'm like, God dang, I just can't win. But either which way, man, I'm here. This is an all-star studded panel, and to be on a panel as well with somebody that I've admired for a long time, RGT85. This is pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to getting into the topics. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind kind of a week. We don't even really know all the details, but needless to say, it's been the kind of news that just pulls at your heartstrings a little bit. And I think if you're not a little bit choked one way or another, especially if you've been knees deep in the Xbox ecosystem as I have been over the past couple of decades, I don't know where your head's been at, but any which way, we'll get into it.
Well, we're definitely going to get into it. And you did a great intro already for the great RGT85. Sean is back on the show. You know, Sean, you're probably riding high right now, and I'll tell you why, okay? First of all, the New York Knicks have probably been the best they've been within, I don't know if it's a decade or a little longer than that, but I'm enjoying what you're enjoying right now. I'm enjoying this little coast we're doing. And at the same time, you also happen to be the number one, I believe you're the ambassador of Xbox on YouTube. You know, you may say it's self-proclaimed, but I do believe you sit on the throne of that. RGT, there's a lot going on in the Xbox world, so I said I have to get the ambassador, the number one YouTuber in Xbox, on here. The great Sean, RGT85, is back with us, buddy. How you doing this evening?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Knicks made some good moves today.
Yes, they did.
Very happy to see that. Tonight's game's going to be horrible because we only have 8 people suiting up. But,
Yep.
You know, what can you do? And yeah, it's been an interesting week for Xbox. I do feel like based on talks that I've had with people, it seems like there might have been a little bit of misinformation on some of the things, but we'll talk about that as we go along tonight. But yeah, definitely looking forward to the discussion.
Well, absolutely. And you know what? So, Sean, I want you to kind of sit back. I usually put Sean in the hot seat here. I'm going to go, Sean go second here. I'm going to put Noof Nukem on the hot seat. And Noof, if you could do me a favor, I did crank your volume up, but I'm not sure if you're going to be coming through a little bit lighter for the audience right now on the sound. So if you have the ability, whether it be on Discord or on your PC, to put your volume on output up just a little bit, because I want everyone to hear what you have to say. It is important. Noof, what did you kind of take here from this past week? And what I mean is there's a couple things on the table, right? We're talking about Microsoft making a possible. It's all rumor, by the way, guys. Next week, this could all be different, and we could all be talking about what we were talking about 3 weeks ago, and not this news. But right now, when they say there's smoke, there's fire. Noof, you know, there's a chance that there's going to be some of the bigger first-party games that are on Xbox right now moving their way over to other platforms. People are saying they might go third party. There's also rumors that we could see a change to Game Pass and the rules. Nothing maybe drastic next week. Noof, personally, I think even if it is a massive change, I think the massive change, Noof, will happen over a gradual period of time. It's not going to be everything happens in the next 7 to 10 days. But Noof, from where you were a week ago to where you are today with the rumors, how has this kind of affected you? Because, I mean, you are out there as a predominantly, I know you play everywhere, you own everything, but you predominantly play on Xbox. How did this news affect you, and what do you think we're going to be hearing next week?
Me personally, it's a slap in the face to all of us who've invested decades, thousands of dollars, thousands of hours, and a lot of trust and faith in a brand that for a long time was, was cutting edge. It was leading the way, killer generation with 360, and then like everything, they start chasing the mouse around a little bit, and just a lot of leadership changes and direction changes, and it happens with a lot of companies, But to me, it's a little bit insulting, if this is going to come to fruition after all the money that they've spent to try to turn around the brand, to try to basically regain the faith and the trust of, it's not just about gaining new consumers. That's always a mission for any company. They're always after new customers, new dollars. I get it, but it's the people that do the podcast. It's the people that have invested a lot more than just a few microtransactions here and a console here. Like you can say, well, we don't matter. No, we do matter because we spend thousands of dollars. Anyone that's got a massive physical collection, anyone that's got thousands of achievements and trophies or whatever involved in there is more to it than just a game here and there going to a competing platform. I totally get the on the case by case basis stuff. I mean, some games are just meant to be enjoyed by more than one person, but at the same time, why build a console at all? Why even bother to, go out and say, make another console, period? If you're basically, it's becoming such a minuscule option for people that, like, if you don't take your own brand seriously and you don't take your own product seriously, how can you expect the fans to jump in and take it seriously? This is the problem. We're not talking about $200 consoles. You're talking about $500 and $600. And many of us have been duped more than once. A lot of us have bought the Xbox One, and then we bought with the Kinect, the whole 9 yards. And then we bought the Series, and then we bought the S, and then we bought the X if we didn't have a 3. And me, Mooch, Newfonomics, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
or 6 times. You know, and I've invested and invested and invested. So I'm putting my not only my money, but I'm putting a lot of, you know, it's emotion, it's a connection to the brand, it's the ecosystem, it's the achievements, it's the gamer score, it's everything at it all in one. And I'm starting to feel like there's a freaking monkey just punching freaking buttons in the background over there at this point. And it's like, what is going on? Can someone explain things? Can someone be clear and concise and make stuff make sense and make it mean something to people that have put so much back into this brand? Like, you can dismiss us all you want, but we spend thousands of dollars. We're the people that go out there and promote this stuff when they drop it on day one. Like, who pushes the brands harder than the hardcore? You know, it doesn't matter. They could charge us $1,000 tomorrow for a console. Most of us will go out and buy it, and we'll promote it, and we'll cherish it, and we'll spread the good word and the good faith. But, like, you know, something, you know, I don't know if the left hand knows what the right hand is doing at this point. If it's Microsoft versus Xbox, corporation versus division. You know, we've seen studio heads and studio leads. And to me, that was telltale alone. Like, watching all these guys, like Mark Ybarra goes out and goes, you know, he comes back to Activision Blizzard and leaves again. And then, you know, just as timing should have it, you know, you got, what's his name? Pete Hines steps down over there. It's like, boy, that's just really coincidental that everybody leaves and quits as soon as Microsoft starts putting their hands into things. It's just kind of funny to me. So I don't know. There's a lot of stuff, Mooch. I don't want to take up the whole show, but this is needless to say. I mean, we don't even know the full facts here, right? And I certainly don't. I'm just going off of what the worst case scenario is, but already I'm choked because I don't. And this is the thing, and this is something like Beastfire Tim Dog has said, right? We just don't trust them anymore. We don't trust them anymore. We can't take anything they say for facts or face value, because it seems like the moment they go, this is exclusive and don't you guys got nothing to worry about, the very next week they go, sorry, we were just tickling your balls, and now it's time to put your diapers on and go cry in the corner because we're just going to make our money however we want to do.
I think you made a good point there, and shout out to Tim Dog as well. You know, that was one of the things that, and I said it in different words here for the past few years. I've said basically, it's the Xbox leadership. A lot of people see the leadership take the stage and they applaud and they light matches and they stomp their feet. And myself personally, I've always been like, there's just something since this crew has taken over back in whatever it was, 2014, 2015 era. It's just been very odd. The messaging's odd. It doesn't seem to stick. The games aren't there. And when the games do show up like they are now, they're not. The quality's in question. The games are now there, but the quality's in question. I know everyone starts throwing out the 87 Metacritic for Halo, and I know everybody starts throwing out the 92 Metacritic for Horizon 5 and, you know, Forza Horizon 5, and I get that. But then at the same time, you look at Halo and you say Halo has had, it's such an empty canvas still for the campaign. And when the multiplayer launched, it was empty and the game was delayed a year. Starfield didn't quite deliver the way that it was announced it was going to deliver. On top of that, also just very, very, I don't know, I thought it was myself, I didn't care for it much, but if you liked it, that's fine. That's not what I'm here to say. Now, Sean, I'm going to go to you because, you know, Noof kind of really hit home on a couple of things, Sean, with the Xbox leadership and can we trust what they say moving forward. But Sean, you made a really strong comment, and I did hear you. You said maybe we're kind of, you know, over guessing next week or what the intention is. I mean, RGT, are you hearing something on the inside that maybe the audience would like to know? Is there something where we should, you know, hit the gas on some of these rumors and maybe pump the brakes on some of the others?
Yeah, I've heard some. If you notice, a lot of not necessarily the diehard, like the Tim Dogs and stuff like that. Like they're still all in their stuff, but a lot of the Microsoft kind of like the Jezzes and those people, they kind of walked it back a little bit as the week went on.
Yep.
Because I've been hearing, and I don't know if it's true or anything like that, but yes, some games are going to be going to multi-platform.
Yeah.
Some games are still going to be, you know, like a game like Indiana Jones. From what I've heard, it's going to come out first on Xbox. It's like a timed exclusive.
Right.
You know,
yes.
That's going to be sort of the focal point. And I've also heard that the Starfield thing might actually be absolutely nothing. And it may have been a coordinated leak to see who speaks about it, to see who within Microsoft and and what's going on there to see who's talking to people.
Oh,
Because I've actually heard that the Starfield thing is walked back and that it's not coming to PlayStation 5. I haven't made a video on it yet because at this point it's just kind of like, well, you got to wait and see.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the Microsoft Game Pass thing. People are freaking out about that. You know, on one hand, I do think that makes it a bit more attractive if you want to get Game Pass. I mean, because you have to look at what's been said for literally years now. Xbox has always been like, we want Game Pass on as many screens as possible, whether it's Phil Spencer, who then walks it back because he develops parasocial relationships with a lot of the hardcore fans, which is a problem. And we're seeing the results of that problem. But let's just say, I think the best way I can really summarize everything is there's a good chance that a lot of the diehard Xbox fans with large followings on Twitter, there's a good chance that they're going to be celebrating next week because they're going to be thinking, hey, we stopped this from happening. We made this happen. And the problem is that's not true. It just never was the case at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And people just sort of ran with it in this direction. I could be completely wrong on it. Those are just some of the things that I have heard. And I think it's not like, okay, Hi-Fi Rush, that's probably going to be at the Nintendo partner presentation next week, along with another Xbox game, which I'm not going to say the name of it, but trust me, it's a game that nobody really cares about, so it won't be that big of a deal. Okay. Is Sea of Thieves probably going to PlayStation 5? Yes. I just think that they're going, because I think their idea is we've bought up all these studios. We have all these studios under our umbrella. The studios which were successful as a multi-platform system. So, you know, releasing their games on multi-platform stuff. So why would we take that away? You know, if we're going to give other consumers the option to play these games, whether it be day and date or whether it be 6 months to a year down the road, we're going to make money on that.
That's right.
Because people who have it kind of kills the incentive to buy the actual Xbox box. But when you look at what Microsoft is trying to do, they're trying to do cloud stuff. They're trying to do all these remote ways to play. So my mentality is you get people into game, because look at the physical game stuff. All their physical games are all of a sudden disappearing from all these major retailers. Why is that? Because they don't want to deal with that stuff. They want everything to be within the Game Pass ecosystem. Could the Game Pass price go up? That's a discussion for another day.
Right.
I've heard a couple interesting things about that. But then you also give consumers on other platforms the option to buy Indiana Jones at $70. Xbox people get it day one. They can get it on Game Pass. You don't have to worry about it. And then 6 months, a year later, you can get Indiana Jones on your PlayStation 5, which it might even run better if the PlayStation 5 Pro is a thing, for the $70. And then you're making money two different ways instead of just dumping everything into a console that, for whatever reason, I think some of it comes down to marketing personally, but for whatever reason, didn't really hit with people. Because honestly, I play my Xbox Series X more than I play any other system. If I'm playing games with friends online, like Spawn Wave, who's not really a friend, I hate him to death, but like friends
stop.
friends like MVG and stuff like that, we're always playing on Xbox. We're always playing Call of Duty on Xbox. We're always playing whatever multiplayer game drops on Xbox. Like, I genuinely like the system. I think Microsoft themselves, I just don't think they really knew what they wanted to do with it and how they wanted to market it.
Right.
Whereas Sony was a lot clearer of a vision. But I say all that to say, I am rambling. I say all that to say, I think there's going to be, it's not going to be what a lot of people are expecting it to be next week.
So it's interesting. And Noof, I'm going to let you talk as well. I know you got a point to bring up, but I just a comment though to Sean, outside of you saying that possibly they'll walk back the Starfield thing, which that's completely fine. I don't think a lot of hearts are going to be broken on that, to be honest with you. The rest of what you said does kind of fall in line a bit. So Sea of Thieves, Hi-Fi Rush, possible. Well, and I understand that we were talking about this on Monday on the show here, that the tiers of Game Pass possibly either changing the rules of how they're letting people consume the media there, or prices going up. That's really what this business event might be. So, I mean, outside of Starfield, which I I could totally see what you said being true. I think you're still going to see that transformation of them becoming somewhat, and it'll be a gradual process, Sean, but it'll be a gradual process of them turning into a, not third party, it's 6-12 months after. But think about it, when you're a consumer and you say, I have $500 in my pocket, should I go buy a Series X right now? Or can I get a PlayStation 5? Now, you fast forward a year and some of these Xbox games end up on PlayStation 5. You end up saying, well, wait a minute. I'm going to get third-party exclusivity because Sony's going to keep doing that with certain titles. I'm going to get PlayStation exclusive games on there. And then if I wait 6 to 12 months, I'll get Xbox games on there. So what it ends up doing, this is where the concern comes from the Xbox camp. And I get it. If you're out there and you're a hardcore Xbox fan, I completely get this. I really do. You're like, oh, wait a minute. So why am I still here outside of Game Pass? I mean, if you're in love with the Game Pass model, that seems to be the sticking point right now. Until Game Pass goes to $19.99 a month, $24.99 a month, right? $30 a month. I mean, that's going to happen. It's happening in every other subscription base.
That's where my point is going.
Go ahead, Noof. Go ahead, and then I want to hear the great Jay Bari and the guys.
Yeah. I won't take long, but this is where my point is going, Mooch. Here's another little slimy thing that Microsoft just weaseled underneath our noses, and most people didn't really give a crap. You know, most of the people that are in the Xbox ecosystem now, they just love Game Pass. Sing the praises every day, right? You know how I feel about it. I've bitched about it for years. If I could roll back the clocks right now, I've always said to all the Xbox fans, I said I would never have created Game Pass. If I could roll back it tomorrow, I would get rid of it. It's an abomination. I hate the games as a service model. I get why they did it, but I don't like it. I still don't really like it, to be honest. It has its perks, all that stuff, and it's fantastic value, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but here's the deal, right? Remember about a year or two ago when Microsoft wanted to jack up the price of Xbox Live Gold and everybody cried from the heavens, and we did sort of get a bit of a rollback on that? Well, you know what happened since, right? They went out and created that tier system. Game Pass, was it Game Pass Core? What's the other one? Game Pass, and then there's Game Pass Ultimate, right? There's like 3 tiers now, right?
Yes.
So guess what happened to my tier? So I was an Xbox Game Pass. I was actually an Xbox Live Gold member all these years. And most of the only way I was getting Game Pass is because every time I'd go to renew my Gold, they just transferred to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, right? So it was kind of like, well, whatever. I'm getting it for essentially the same price, right? Like great value, right? Okay, so fine. But guess what? When that ran out now, when that stuff currently ran out, I had to switch now to the models. And I don't really want to pay $18 a month for Game Pass Ultimate. So I'm left with the only one that has multiplayer, because that's really the only reason I've always paid for Xbox Live, was multiplayer to interact with my friends, party chat, right?
That's right.
That's all I really want. I don't give a shit about the free games and all that junk. Most of that was garbage anyway. But I want the multiplayer. So guess what? So now you can't go in and buy 12 months anymore. You got to buy it in 3-month installments. So I had to get Game Pass Core. I'm now paying $30 Canadian over the course of $30 for 3 months. So do the math. That's $120 a year. It's doubled my Xbox Live Gold price. Do you see what they did there? They don't give me the option to buy the 12 and get it at a discounted price. I'm now paying $30 for 3 months. So do the math. That's $120 I got to pay for Core. And all I get is a measly, like those 25 games. Most of them I already own. Most of them I could care less about. So you see how we got screwed? Yeah. And that's exactly what they wanted to do back when they talked about Xbox Live Gold going up to $120. They got it there. And they just were sneaky about it. They just got rid of the whole everybody complaining, oh, okay, we'll keep it the same price. But then what they did was they got rid of the Xbox Live Gold, and then they jacked up the price sneakily on people like me, and now that's what I got to pay. So if I want to pay, I'm paying. And people were bitching that PlayStation was going to put PlayStation Plus up to 100 and something Canadian. I'm like, well, whoop-de-doo da. Xbox did it, but Xbox just did it like under the umbrella. That's the point I wanted to bring up about the Game Pass and how sneaky they did that. They screwed me over, man.
Well, I think
if they're making money moves, like if this is all like a money move, which is kind of the word on the street, right? Like the word is the head honchos, they want to, with that much money spent, they're looking for, they're looking. I mean, you do have to think about it. Like you're at the head of this company, you just spent $100 billion. You've been going along with Spencer's vision for a decade plus, and he's been telling everybody to hang in there. And all you see is low console sales. You're just getting curb stomped everywhere you look in the stats. You know what I mean? So, like, I get there was always going to be a point where You know, I mean, you didn't really think Microsoft was going to just fund this and for out of the goodness of their heart for everybody forever, right? Like, there was obviously Game Pass didn't quite like they had to fit the bill, right? And they're not going to do that forever. So if they're making money moves, then yeah, they're going to raise the prices of our subs, and you know, this won't be the last year.
No, it's not. And I do want to clarify something because believe me, the great people that watch the show and then we'll clip it later. I just want to say now, you did say you were getting 12 months of core, right? Noof Nukem?
That's right. Yeah,
well,
right.
I just looked right here. I mean, just so you know, I think what you're talking about, are you talking about purchasing only on the console? Because I just went to CD Keys and they have 12 months of Game Pass Core for the regular price of whatever it is. It says $67 on sale for $55 for 12 months.
I used to pay 12 months of Xbox Live Gold prior to the shift was $60 Canadian, right?
Right. So this is
that's what it
now
is.
this is showing for the
this is double for me.
Right now, I can't speak for Canadian prices, but the U.S. here, it does have the 12 months for still around the $60 price tag. So I think, but you have to go outside. You have to buy that code online. Anyone in the chat that wants to confirm that or tell me if I'm wrong, I think I'm reading that right. The reason I don't know is I've got Ultimate Game Pass, and I have it until I think 25, and that's when mine is up. Then I will be in your boat, Noof, where I'll be buying the Core, which is what was the Xbox Live Gold for $60. I'll be going, and I won't have the typical Game Pass. I'll have the Core, which allows for multiplayer. Because like Sean said, I still do play a lot of Call of Duty and my multiplayer games. I do play a lot of those still on Xbox. So, Jay Barry, what do you think, though, from the whole point of view, from what you heard? Now, you heard what Sean said. Sean's got his ear to the ground. You've kept your ear to the ground, Jay. I mean, and I know, listen, you and Persona do an amazing job of keeping it 100% PlayStation on What's Up PlayStation Saturday morning. So this, I know that you don't usually dabble in this, but I know you're very opinionated on it. So Jay, what do you think when you've heard all this?
To me, this is what I think, right? So when it comes to the Xbox fans and how they feel, I'm 100% behind them as far as if these rumors are true.
Yeah.
Or any of it is true. I think it's a horrible look for Microsoft or Xbox. And yeah, a lot of people that invested a lot of money, time into the console. It's not just about the whole, other people get to play games or whatnot. Some people, they do care about the brand, that they had some type of bond or some type of game that attracted to them, which made them that type of platform gamer or whatnot. And yeah, you develop bonds and friends and gamer scores and all that stuff. So a lot of people don't want the brand to diminish,
absolutely,
multi-platform stuff. And we have perfect examples of, other companies that, because of issues of sales or whatnot, abandon consoles and go multi-platform now. I don't think a lot of people want that for Xbox. But I would say this, though. Microsoft created a culture within the Xbox community and the Xbox gaming where the gamers didn't want to buy games. Game Pass was that Trojan horse.
Yep. Facts.
Was that Trojan horse?
You can't blame it. You can't blame them either. It's the smart move. If that's the only place you play, the Game Pass is the smart move. You can't even blame the players. They did it to themselves.
Oh no, I'm not blaming the players.
I didn't think you were.
It's a great value, but at the end of the day, they introduced something that, if this is true, and we looking at the worst case scenario, yeah, this is like not the demise, but the shift of how Xbox is going to be introduced into gaming. I don't think they're not going to go away from making consoles, but there's been a multi-platform, company is definitely a big shift. And it was like the Trojan horse. It looked appetizing, it looked beautiful, but when that thing opened up, you see a whole bunch of Greeks coming out of that motherfucker and tearing the thing up. But yeah, at the end of the day,
a lot more like Netflix every day, isn't it?
Yeah, at the end of the day, man, I stand with the Xbox gamers as far as like, I don't think it would be a good move. I like the traditional consoles, all platforms having its own incentive, like games to attract gamers to the platform. I like that. Nintendo got its games, I go and buy whatever Nintendo console. PlayStation got its games, I go and buy the PlayStation console. Xbox have its games that's attractive enough, I'll go and buy an Xbox console. I like that stuff when it comes to console gaming, and just having that diminish on the Xbox side would be kind of boring, to be honest with you. And I like the conversations of, oh, this platform is better because this and that. I like that shit. Whoever want to call it console wars or whatever, too bad. You know what I mean? I like have engaging conversations like that because you get to hear people talk about stuff that they like, or the back and forth, like back in the day.
Jay, you made a good point, and I guess David, I want to hear David's point because Dave, you reached out. I know you have a lot to say on this. So I guess I like to throw up another volleyball here, not just ask the same question to the panel. I have a bunch of questions here. When it comes down to it, RGT made a point. Jay makes a point just now when he says, I like the idea of exclusivity, right? Nintendo puts out a game, I buy the game. PlayStation puts out the game, I buy the game. What is it that's causing this possible? And again, I have to use the words like possible, rumor, leak, because like I said, until next week, we don't really know. But let's say this possible pivot, David. Was it really the Game Pass? Is it Game Pass that's to blame, or is it more of the day and date on PC? And the only reason I bring up the day and date, people say, well, what's the difference? It doesn't matter. But a lot of times, especially with games like, let's just say, Hellblade 2, or a game like Indiana Jones, to build up that hype and excitement, RGT said it, I think Noof said it, with the marketing and the leadership team there. If you have that build up for a game, look at what Sony did with Helldivers 2. Just kind of funny to pick a small game like that, right? Just to get the crowd amped up, have a reason to have the console in your house, and then put it on PC. If Microsoft wanted to be aggressive, David, they could have put it on PC 6 months later. Now I'm playing Monday Morning Quarterback. So now me saying that PC gamers are like, no. We want it day and date, which I understand. But they could have said 6 months to a year later, and it would have been great. And they could have double dipped, and it gives the reason for the console to exist. Which do you think is the reason for pivot? Is it just poor marketing? Is it took too long for the games to come? They're here now. Game Pass or the PC day and date?
The short answer is money. That's the short answer. I'm listening. There's a huge amount of very valid points and very sensible points being made by those that have made points so far in this conversation. And specifically for Nuke, I can completely appreciate his disdain and annoyance at how they've gone about handling this last couple of weeks. Since it's been basically downhill since they did the developer direct, and there's no reason for that. It should have been a celebrated event. Here's a few games that are coming, and how do they look? And it should have been spoken about well. And it's pretty much just been a downhill run since then. But the end result is money, and they've been flagging this issue for a while. Without going into a economics 101 TED talk for 3 hours, the baseline is that yes, they've got a core supporter base that buy the stuff, promote the stuff, and just live it, breathe it, and enjoy it. And then they've got a casual consumer base that sort of comes along for the ride, for lack of a better way of explaining it. The problem they've got is that's not enough to cover it, and they've got to find other ways to do it. So the Game Pass thing, that's another way of siphoning money out of someone's pocket. But they've never managed to get Game Pass to feel its potential in terms of revenue because they keep focusing on the numbers and the engagements and all the rest of it, but can't monetize it as good as others can with their online offerings. And they've got the same problem when it comes to the PC piece. They don't get the double dip option because they didn't want to upset the fan base. And fair enough, but you can't be offering it. You can't be offering it basically for free in Game Pass and then try and then charge someone on PC to play it. It's you're cannibalizing your sales capability because you're basically developing it and giving it away for nothing.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
The end result is, for all the different things that they've done well and all the different things they haven't done well, if they are going to pivot, timing is not the greatest, but you can see from their last quarterly reports, they said under oath that the purpose of purchasing ABK was to increase their ability to compete and their ability to generate revenue and all the rest of it, and that it had to be profitable to the shareholder, not profitable at the higher level of, direct costs being less than the direct revenue. It had to be profitable to the shareholder. And we saw in that last quarterly report, it wasn't. And not only was the ABK acquisition not profitable to the shareholder in its first quarter under control of Microsoft or Xbox Gaming, it was a $500 million loss position, and Xbox itself was suffering from a lower than expected position. When you combine the two of them together, it's not great. And then when senior management have that issue to deal with, they reach in and they go, right, we're going to take control and we're going to make some changes. You can't argue with that, because the bottom line is if the shareholders have said you must make it work, then you got to make it work. Now, having said all that, that's not a great way of a great light to be shining on it. The opportunities they have a lot more flexibility going forward than what some would give them credit for. You've still got Xbox Game Studios, core Xbox Game Studios. You've then got ABK and you've got ZeniMax. Now, they're separate out from Xbox Game Studios for a reason. You can pick and choose. They could come out on next week and say, all ZeniMax games are going to be multi-plat across everything. Day and date, everywhere. You put whatever you want, you can play it wherever you like. ZeniMax games, that's what's happening. And that includes Starfield, that's fine. That's great, whatever. ABK games, they're the pick and choose. Some will go every platform, some will be timed exclusive to the Xbox platform or whatever they choose to do. Xbox Game Studios, our core studios, they are ours for our Xbox fans, and they are fully exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. Because I bet you, I wouldn't put Lefty on it, but I bet pretty close to that they will come out and say something. They won't talk about platforms, they'll talk about ecosystem. And they won't talk about exclusivities, they'll talk about access to games. Like, they'll change it around so it sounds really good. And some people will see through the spin, but there's a message there that they can deliver that will alleviate the concerns of the core fans, in that you're not going to lose the ability to champion or enjoy what we provide. We're just trying to find a better way to make more money out of what we're doing, because we can't afford to keep this going. And, if you ask, we'll even pitch it to Newf, if the outcome is ZeniMax and ABK games are not exclusive to Xbox, but your Xbox Studios games remain exclusive to Xbox for them to exist, would you accept that as an outcome? That's pretty much what
so
my vision is going to be.
And just in layman's terms for everybody, what David's really saying here. So ABK possibly going multi-plat. Of course, that's kind of like the unknown secret right there. Everybody knows that's happening. That's no secret to anybody. But I think really with ABK, but then you have your Halos, your Gears, your Forzas would remain exclusive to the Xbox platform. And the one thing that he says, and Craig, I'll go to you. And guys, by the way, I am going to be reading the Super Chats. The Super Chats are working, and I appreciate it so much, guys. It means the world to me. If you have questions for the panel, let me know. But Craig, the one thing David said that was true is basically you got to keep the investors are truly, and I got to give MegaCloud 47. He says shareholders are first class citizens, not us. The shareholders, like David's saying, at the end of the day, it's money. It is money. Yeah. But is that enough? I don't really think it's enough to tell Xbox fans, oh, Halo, Gears, and Forza are yours. But all of this news we've made over the past 2 or 3 years with the ZeniMax acquisition and ABK, those will be at best timed for you guys.
Well, yeah, I mean, my understanding of it is, and I said this on my own podcast last night, is that since they've got, they're going to make an announcement, just save it. It is, everybody can kind of save their powder there for the announcement. I don't know how they're walking Starfield back when they never said it was coming. There's nothing to walk back because they never. I do believe that people are taking the word considered and they're running with, well, they're going to do it. And it's like, no, they may consider a whole bunch of things. Doesn't mean they're going to do it. So yeah, I don't know how they can walk it back because they never said it was coming. The thing that's been consistent is 2 to 3 games coming, and then I was told literally an hour before the podcast that it's just, they may go ahead and announce, as somebody just said here, the ecosystem. There's a flat out ecosystem, and that ecosystem will be everywhere, and it will have choice games. I called it years ago. I called it if you want to call it Game Pass Core,
Mhm.
where it's just a set of games that everybody will be able to get, whether it's on your phone, your tablet. But I don't feel sorry for the fanboys because people did try to talk to these guys and they didn't want to listen. So they, ran with whatever Microsoft told them that the world was turning upside down. They went around and said, yes, that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, we talked about it before about how these cats would run and say, well, Sony's going to have to do the same thing. It's kind of like, no, they don't have to do the same thing. But I think you're going to see some games come out, whether it's Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, that you're going to see some games come and be multi-plat, and then overall, they'll keep most of their games. It's not going to be Gears. It's not going to be stuff like that. It's just going to be some of the newer titles. And yeah, get used to the term not exclusive, but just timed exclusive.
Yeah.
Some of these games will just be timed exclusives, and that's fine. I mean, that's fine. You play it for a year.
Mhm.
It's on, like people were saying, it's day and date on Game Pass, whether you have the PC or.
That's why Blade ain't getting no what you call it.
Yeah, that's why
specific,
everybody was very quiet. Yeah, J-Bar, you're right. I mean, 100% right. I mean, that Marvel contract, if you're going to have their game only on your platform, you gotta make some money. You have to sell a certain amount. There's a reason why, Sony's able to keep Spider-Man is because they can also guarantee a certain amount of money. That's it. Money coming in. Not, at the end of the discussion, it's about the money. It's about a return on investment. Xbox has not made a damn dime in 20 years. So when Satya Nadella called Phil Spencer into the office and said, why are we doing this? If Phil Spencer came up with this plan, they gave him 10 years, and it's just not. That's what I was talking about the numbers. It's just not working out. So, I think they bring a few games over, see how it goes. How is it going to hurt anybody? Except the fanboys in the Xbox community. They're going to be.
Yeah,
hurt.
but hasn't the Xbox division been claiming record numbers and like all sorts of always promoting engagement and all this money rolling in? But yet console sales are down. Yes, but
yeah,
right?
Yeah, and you're in order for me to get Game Pass, I either have to do it on a PC or on their console. Their consoles are down. And again, it
on my
doesn't mean
PC and my Xbox.
Yeah, now. Yeah, I mean, these guys. Last week, J-Bar, you kind of hit on it. They were claiming Steam numbers for Pal World. It's like, are you kidding me? Is it this bad? It's like that. It's like that scene in the Lord of the Rings where the king's like, "Is this all you have, Solomon? This all you got?" So
yeah, I think it's kind of crazy that they had the Xbox Direct showcase, which was a good showcase. It showed outlining 2024 for Xbox, and then magically these rumors just come up a couple of weeks later. Like, that just killed a lot of people's excitement for the console war type of side of things.
Yeah, they're talking about a civil war going on in the Xbox camp. As far as
I think that does show you it has to be something drastic and something just recent, because what I mean, that it was. The ship was pointed one direction just like a week or two ago, right? So it has to be something drastic and something really recent.
Yeah. So there's a couple of quick little things I'll just add because I don't want to stir up too much other stuff. I expect that Game Pass will become available across whatever device, including PlayStations and Switches or whatever Nintendo's next thing is.
You think they'll even let that happen? Like, PlayStation? What about PS Plus? Like, are they going to?
I think it'd be on Sony TV. I don't know. Okay.
But what about Sony's PS Plus? Like, how are they going to parse that out?
He'll get there. Hold on. Go ahead, Dave.
Let me answer. The Game Pass that comes to Sony and Nintendo and those platforms will be just restricted to whatever Xbox or Microsoft Gaming has either built, developed, or published. It wouldn't include any third parties that are currently under arrangement with PlayStation or Nintendo. Now, that's not to say no third parties, but it's important to note that if Xbox can get away from having to pay billions of dollars to put third-party games into the service, and then can offer the service on platforms where the current player base is already prepared to pay dollars for a subscription service, because PS Plus isn't cheap, then that that's a revenue stream with an offsetting cost, like reducing cost point, that increases their bottom line. The other thing was to do with the consoles. Now, cloud gaming may drive the console into a different phase or a different existence. It may not even be a traditional console. We don't know. It's still in its infancy, but that's going to be something that Nintendo and PlayStation have to deal with at some point.
Mhm.
Microsoft's got an opportunity here to get out of the console because, and again, it comes down to money. In 2023 financial year, they made $3.3 or $3.6 billion worth of revenue from Xbox hardware sales. And that's consoles, controllers, peripherals, the lot. If they didn't manufacture and sell those things, they would have had a $4 to $4.2 billion improvement on their bottom line to shareholders. So they're costing them over $500 million in that financial year just to get consoles out there. Now, if they can make better money on other platforms without having to build that, then that's something that might not be what Phil and his team want to do. But if Satcher and Amy and co up the top have said, shareholders and the board have said that's got to go, then there's no choice. So I do see a future or pathway where Game Pass comes to rival platforms and they talk about it as an ecosystem and it's got Xbox games in it, and that's fine. That's fine. And they have a future where whatever the hardware that they deliver is, if it's not an app on a device, it may just be something small that's $99 with a controller, and everything runs through your some kind of streaming device. Now, that doesn't mean that that's ideal for everyone, because I, personally don't like to see the demise of something that's been around for a long time. But if that's the future we're looking at, because they just can't generate enough money, and by doing this they can become sustainable and profitable and all the rest of it that they need to, that money gets reinvested into games, we get better quality games, we get longevity of the organisation in some guys, I don't care what they call it. That's more preferable than Satcher and Amy coming in 6 months' time going, you haven't done what we asked you to do, pull the plug on it and turn it off.
Yeah, I do think it's possible that, in the long run, that maybe Microsoft finds a way to get it totally away from the hardware, and with the weight of ABK, maybe they're just going to say, okay, we're going to make our money from all the back end services that we have with the servers and the different engines and the games that we do make, and that's where their money's going to come from. Like, hardware free is kind of what you're saying. I just wonder how that would go along with PlayStation and Nintendo, and they would kind of hold all the cards, right? So there would have to be agreements, and it would be interesting if they were able to pull that off.
What's the benefit for PlayStation and
exactly? And that's kind of what I'm thinking, right? They could swiftly kill them off if they wanted to.
What I'm thinking is that they're going to do the whole Minecraft approach, because I don't think Game Pass is going to come to the rival platforms, but the games will. And something like Minecraft, they can push a game like that with, pushing Microsoft, accounts and stuff like that. That's why I think they're going to push it. Like, I know people said it's kind of a rumor with the whole Microsoft gaming, but I actually feel like they're going to end up going that route of just pushing Microsoft and things like that. But we'll see.
Makes sense. If Game Pass, as I said, they've got flexibility and options. Game Pass coming to rival platforms may be for games that are 2+ years old and it's only Xbox games. So you might get Halo 1, 2, and 3 via Game Pass on a PlayStation, but you're not going to get whatever the brand new game is. They'll try and sell that to you on whatever their main platform for the exclusivity piece would be, and that makes sense. Because then they're getting the best of both worlds. What does Sony get out of it? Well, they've spent no money and they get a percentage cut out of the storefront because you've got to pay the subscription to the app. That's a deal that's easily done because they do that all the time.
It would kind of be like bait, though, right? So, hey, we have I bet you anything. I mean, I don't know anything, but my guess would be if there was going to be an arrangement made, PlayStation would be like, all right, you can bring Game Pass, but you can't have a console. Like, you can't be trying to pull people from your ecosystem. Yeah, it would be interesting.
I
think Sony would just say get kick rocks, but
that was reported by Hip Hop Gamer. Yeah, that was reported by Hip Hop Gamer. So
that comes down to, as I mentioned before, what's the future look like with cloud. That's why Sony was carrying on so much with the ABK thing about the cloud stuff, because they're all all trying to catch up to Microsoft at the moment. Microsoft is leaps and bounds in front of everyone else when it comes to cloud gaming because they were smart enough to get into it right at the front end. Does that mean that naturally the console is going to disappear? I don't think so. But if they've got an opportunity to do a deal where PlayStation gets money for doing nothing, and there's the competition with the console space is they've diverted so much that what an Xbox console looks like, which is a gateway to a streaming service, versus PlayStation staying with a traditional powerhouse custom bespoke computer thing sitting next to your TV. There's certainly an opportunity there where if they can work together to make more money, it just makes sense, because undercutting each other at this point is not going to work.
Yeah. No, I got a couple of super chats here, and I do have a couple questions that spawn from what you guys are talking about. Shout out first and foremost to the great, I got to go all the way back, Damien. He says, the all-star panel here tonight. Shout out to my guy, Bari. Absolutely. Javangich, I'm probably saying it wrong. Helldivers 2 is deeper than the trailers suggested. I can't wait to dive into that. I got an announcement to make. We're going to be streaming that. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Illuminati85 subscribe to the channel. I appreciate that. Sphere says, time to party, no Xbox. Easy, Sphere. We need to have at least 3 out there. Take it easy, Sphere. Mega Cloud 47 says the shareholders are first-class citizens, not us. I read that earlier. Shout out to Gaming with Persona, who says, who's yelling? Big shout out to Mooch. Big shout out to Persona. And then Persona, he hits his host of What's Up PlayStation. I have a question for the panel. Why does Jay Bari have a lisp? Is it real? Is it a real lisp, or is he faking it for views? So with the Jay, it's the great.
Is that a thing? Like, do people fake lisps?
I don't think so. But Jay's got the greatest lisp on YouTube. Jay, that is proclaimed, I believe.
Absolutely.
Right?
Got the best lisp on YouTube.
Absolutely. I stand by it as well. The great King Thrash is here. King says PlayStation will not allow games to come to PlayStation if Xbox consoles exist, especially Xbox branded games. Sony will not expose their player base to Xbox. That's a lot of what you're saying.
I agree, and I don't think they'll let you sign into your Xbox account on PlayStation either. I don't think they're going to like how they, how when you play on Steam, you still sign into Xbox. That ain't happening on PlayStation. I promise you that.
Yeah. And that the whole thing with the console not being there. That shout out to Hip Hop Gamer, because he reported that. He's like, if they're going to have a console, then keep those joints over there. But if they're going to get rid of the console, then yes, bring them. That again, I just want to simply say they're going to make an announcement in a few more days. If it's Monday, it's like 100 hours away. So
part of the argument with Jim Ryan when it came to the whole acquisition of Activision was the fact that it would be unfair for Microsoft to put a game like COD in Game Pass. Meanwhile, on the PlayStation's kind of side, there's no real benefit for them to sell it there on their platform. I'm probably misconstruing it, but it was something like that, where that's why I feel like when it comes to the service itself, Game Pass, it won't come to PlayStation or Nintendo. Especially when it comes to PlayStation, they're very finicky when it comes to that. Look how long it took, like Ubisoft Plus and what was the other one? EA Play to go on there, because they didn't want to convolute the whole ecosystem with all these services on the platform. But
I mean, it makes sense. So like I said, they're going to make an announcement. People told me it's going to be Monday, whatever it's going to be. I want to reiterate, I don't know how they walk stuff back when they never announced it. It's been rumors from the jump. Now there some, the Hi-Fi Rush thing. Okay,
well, isn't it funny how it went from 0 to 100 in like 0.2 seconds?
Well, because I think people took the word considered, and I think they're running with that, and they're taking considered, and they're saying that, oh no, they're going to do. I think that's just
some of the stuff is just like clickbait, type stuff. Because some of the rumors, it just was like, all right, now you're saying Gears, now you're saying Halo, like, all right, relax.
That's once I saw the Gears and the Halo thing, that's when I said we got to pump the brakes here. It just didn't hold a lot of water. J Love says Xbox is dead. Get over it, King Thrash. Told y'all PlayStation playing chess clues was in their video. They had that out there in one of their early videos, them playing chess. Raji says if Microsoft goes multi-platform, it means more revenue for them, but it also means that the platforms like PlayStation have more revenue, plus 30%. I do not think Xbox goes away. They control that market. Xbox, I don't believe, is going away either, but if you've heard what the panel said, a lot of this really, when you put it together, Microsoft is probably going to also be announcing in the near future, maybe it'll be next week, maybe it'll be this summer, the illustration that we saw during the FTC CMA findings of the all-digital Xbox Series X, which has no real power increase to it, but it is all digital. It has 2 terabytes versus 1 terabyte of storage, and maybe coming with an enhanced controller. Lord Metroid says Mario Kart 8 has sold 60 million copies. Game Pass, who? King Thrash comes back and says there's a reason why there's Microsoft Gaming and Xbox Studios. This was the plan years ago. Welcome to Horizon 3. If you know, you know. Shout out to, we need another Daydream, King Thrash. We need another Daydream immediately. Those are great. I do want to say this much. So RGT85, let me ask Sean this question. This was poised in the chat by Jez7780, the Gaming Grindhouse. He says, if Xbox has already put games on Switch and PS5 with Minecraft Legends and Dungeons, then why a business meeting needed now for such an announcement? So that's a good question, though, Sean, right? It's not really to put you on the hot seat there. But what do you think at that point? I mean, here's a situation where Phil did address it. We hear you. We're going to have an Xbox business announcement, as it was called, not necessarily to deal with just gaming, but business. And if it was a fact that they were just going to throw slap Hi-Fi Rush out there, they're already doing this with certain titles. Nothing really new there in the big scheme of things. So why have the business meeting next week if this is all really just nothing?
Mm-hmm. I think it's more so because it is a business meeting. I don't necessarily a lot of people are expecting there to be some video presentation where Phil and Sarah Bond come out and they're like, all right, this is what we're doing with that. I think it's just going to be a press release or something. I don't think it'll be a bunch of pomp and circumstance with it.
Okay.
I think they're just simply addressing the things that have been put out there because of all of the feedback that has happened. Whether allegedly there's always been some sort of thing that was going to happen this month. It was going to be towards the end of the month is what I heard. And then it got moved up because of this internet outrage. So I'm not quite sure what is actually going to be said at this meeting and what the point of the meeting has always been.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree that it could just be a simple press release. But to answer the question is to just
this was always scheduled.
Yeah, well, no, it was allegedly they were going to announce something in the spring. Then all these leaks happened. So why do this? I don't know. It's over rumors. I do think that the rumors are gotten out of control. That's why I'll be glad when it's over with because I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl and other stuff. So not talking about this, for the next day or two.
So let me just
fan, is he?
So say again, David.
He's not a Taylor Swift fan, is he?
No, he might be. I'm not sure. Are you, Craig? Are you a T Swift fan?
I don't mind her. I don't see what the big deal is. Players have girlfriends, and their girlfriends go to games. It's been like that when I was in high school when I played football. My girlfriend was in the stands, but yeah,
my wife has never been interested in the Super Bowl ever, and all of a sudden, Super Bowl Sunday's on the countdown.
Hey,
there you go.
That's how you get the Australians involved, David. There it is. Thank you. Late breaking news here on CrossFire, folks. I do want to say this. So, Jay, Let's talk about the same subject, but let's spin this just a little bit. And since you are here from What's Up PlayStation, let's go to our PlayStation expert here on the panel. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, is that too much? Is that too much?" Apologize, Jay.
Hey, man, you put the target on my back.
No, sorry. Yes, right. I should know that. I apologize, Jay. Jay, what do you think about this, though? A lot of people now are saying if we fast forward and we do an assumption that they do go third party, is there a chance that PlayStation, they're using the words PlayStation monopoly out there. I think that's a bit strong because I think Xbox third party, that doesn't mean Xbox is going away. I still think that they're going to have a handheld streaming, still capable device that's hardware. But yes, they may be dabbling in the third party, front. We already talked about that. Do you think PlayStation will go back to the PS3 days where there was a bit of arrogance in the air, or do you think that they'll remain true? Because PlayStation and Sony are in different positions today than they were back in the PS3 launch day era. They've sold off a lot of different things. A lot of Sony right now is PlayStation. So I don't feel, a lot of people feel that PlayStation will get compliant. I don't feel that way. I think that PlayStation is by all means is what keeps Sony a stand. So what do you think about that, Jay, when you think about people saying they will get complacent and also it could turn into a monopoly situation?
Yeah, well, it's never going to be a monopoly situation because you have Nintendo there. PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, they compete with each other. I don't know why people keep leaving out Nintendo, especially with the Switch 2. A lot of those games that's pretty much tied to PlayStation or Xbox, that console is going to get those games too. So, but that's a different conversation, right? I do think that having Xbox there to fully compete within the console space is great for PlayStation, where you don't have like dim-witted moves that PlayStation would do. Having a competitive platform like Xbox, like Nintendo, does benefit the gamer as far as like if you're a PlayStation fan, you do get benefits where PlayStation Plus have drastically improved due to Game Pass being in the picture. You get what I'm saying? So without Xbox being there, yeah, I can see certain moves PlayStation doing that, they would get complacent or whatnot. That wouldn't benefit the gamer as far as let's like, okay, striving or fighting for the consumer dollar, creating better incentives, going out there to get these third-party deals that we're seeing right now, going out there to better the service, things like that. I do think having competition there benefits the PlayStation gamer itself. But as far as like a monopoly, no, I think it's going to be a monopoly there. I don't think it's going to go back to PS3 days because I doubt PlayStation is even want to thinking about that. But I do think that, yeah, complacency will happen because competition's not there. Like, why do I need to fight really and truly for your dollar when one of the biggest competitors is not there? As far as like the traditional side of things, console market, or I don't even know if they're getting out of console. I'm just looking at the worst case scenario. But you don't have no incentives to really fight for that dollar because the competition is now on your platform and now doing things that pretty much now on your platform. So I don't think it's going to be no PS3 days though.
So Sean, let me ask Sean it's kind of a double-edged sword here question. So Sean, I'll go with you to the monopoly question and see if that's a concern. But then I'm going to kind of layer that cake here for you because you got a situation right now. The situation is another article coming out. It says Sony's planning to make the PS6 the most powerful console of its generation. And the problem I have with that comment, Jake just kind of alluded to it. And that is if Xbox's next console, okay? If Xbox's next console is just going to be a handheld streaming device, or even if they put out something that is in the power category, but not going to be going toe to toe with the PS6, will the PS6 really push that power narrative to as far as they could go when they know Microsoft is still going to be a bit? They're not. Why would Microsoft need to go for the most powerful console again, Sean? They don't really need to do that next generation if the focus is going to be on Game Pass and streaming and maybe motivate people to do, motivate their consumers to go towards like this Switch idea where you have a handheld that becomes a docking station. We see what that's done for Switch. I believe Switch 2 is going to be the next iteration of it. We'll talk a little bit about the Switch 2 since we do have the great RGT85 with us tonight. But Sean, what do you think about the monopoly and such a thing with the PS6? Will Sony drive to make the most powerful console when they know that Microsoft may not really be pushing that envelope as hard as they did this generation, next generation?
I think it's silly to be talking about a PlayStation 6 and potential specs about it because if you actually like look at the article, it's literally a bunch of nothing.
It is nothing.
It's just kind of speculation. So, I mean, I really have nothing to say about PlayStation 6. Let's get to the PS5 Pro.
Yeah,
first.
I think. Well, the PS5 Pro, which is also a topic tonight. The only reason I bring up the 6 is only because it's not really about the 6 or the specs of the 6. That was kind of irrelevant. Like you said, there's not a lot there to talk about. But the one thing that is interesting is just the idea, again, of getting onto the monopoly. People saying, well, what'll happen is Sony will become complacent. If that's the situation again, then you see what I'm just saying hypothetically, would they need to push? Look at this generation. Xbox came out touting power. That was what they rode high on the entire time, 2019, 2020, 2021. We are the most powerful console on the market. Okay. Doesn't matter what actually happened with Digital Foundry, and we saw that the PlayStation performed better in certain areas. Xbox on paper was the most powerful. Now the PS5 Pro comes out, tries to take that crown away from Xbox. We'll see if that actually happens. But will PlayStation need to really push that next gen?
Already took that crown, Mooch. Everything PlayStation promoted before PS5, they have actually done. Microsoft came out the gate promoting 4K, 60 frames per second, ray tracing, and you still ain't getting them shits within the game. My bad, curse.
No, you're right.
Yeah, J-Bar is right. What about these 52 CUs and 12 T-flops and VRS and VRR and STD and everything else they kept talking about with this console?
You're right, because I specifically remember some YouTubers that were like, oh, well, the Xbox has 12 teraflops, the PlayStation 5 is 10 teraflops, the Xbox is, I mean, specs are all about how you use them. It's not even necessarily indicative of quality of a game. If that was the case, the 3DO would have trounced everything back in the 90s because it was way superior to what you had, but the game sucked. So, I think it's kind of a nothing story. I think PlayStation will do what they need to do to make the PlayStation 6, whenever we get to that time point, successful. And really, it's just, it depends on what Microsoft does next week. Like I said, I think there is a bit of over panic with the situation just based on things I've heard. It could be wrong. Now, as far as the monopoly aspect of it, I see, because we're getting into the age of diminishing returns on things like raw power, especially with DLSS and Fidelity FX and all that sort of stuff. That's kind of changing the curve, because you don't necessarily have to have the strongest system now to be able to reap the benefits of higher, like ray tracing and higher frame rates and stuff like that, because it's done via artificial intelligence. So I don't even know that they would need to tout we have the best, most raw power. Like, I think that's always a bit of a coping mechanism for me to say, we're not really sure about our software, but our hardware is freaking phenomenal, man. We've got all the juice in the world. So, is it a monopoly? You still have Nintendo. They go in different lanes, obviously, but I don't think it just really remains to be seen. Because we're also assuming that video games and consoles and all that sort of stuff are going to be similar to how they are now. But I see console gaming going more into a PC-like direction. And I think stuff like cloud services, like you probably won't have physical stuff on the PlayStation 6. So you're going to be relying on digital. You're relying on all digital or proprietary cloud streaming stuff. So the idea of the console for the like the Switch 2, whatever the hell they end up calling it, it'll be more of a traditional thing. It'll have your physical media on it, all that sort of jazz. But when we come time to talk about PlayStation 6, and when we come time, if Xbox is still around and the console, manufacturing side of things, or they've moved on to something else, I think the PlayStation 6 is going to be a very different style of console, and it'll be something completely different.
Yeah, I'll just add to that real fast that as far as it being a monopoly, no, I think that's just people fear-mongering over an article that came out that was much ado about nothing. But once again, you have these trash-ass content creators reporting rumors because they have nothing else to talk about. So again, I implore people just to wait until the announcements come out. And that's fine at that point. But when you have people that are just speculating and this is said and it might do this and things like that, that's just I don't know what else to say about that anymore. Just
you can tell RGT's over it, man. Every time he puts out one of those Nintendo videos where he's like, "Listen, guys, I'm tired of the Switch release videos, the Switch 2 videos." I crack up every time I see one of those.
Right, he's right.
These Nintendo YouTubers, they make the same video multiple times a week with the same source and all this sort of stuff. Like, it's insanity.
I mean, there were people. Just the other day, there was a podcaster who will remain nameless saying that Microsoft has Sony right where they want them. And then 24 hours later, he was like, I can't believe I can't believe Microsoft is going to do this with their games. I'm like, wait a minute. You were the same guy that just said they had them where they wanted them. What happened? What happened? So, it's just stuff like that, man.
The problem is people not directly talking about issue that they have with these rumors with Microsoft. They try to deflect it to PlayStation is doing the same thing and all that.
That's true. You're right.
That's not the what's going on in the news cycle. You can talk about PlayStation, but I want to hear you address what's going on with Microsoft. You know what I mean?
But and you're right. And I'll just simply say I don't know how you can address a bunch of rumors. It's rumor. It's innuendo. It's just people talking. I mean, I can make a fake Reddit account and just say some BS, and then somebody's going to pick it up and run with it because that's just the nature. Like Mr. Badbit said last week here, if it's bad news, people are just going to run with it. If it bleeds, it leads. So it's unfortunate that we're at this point, but
it's just because when it comes to Microsoft, again, they've been breaking the trust with the people that support the brand for so long. They've been at it consistently, it's like every time they come out and they have this like a little bit of a positive news spiel, and everybody starts to get a little bit like, okay, they're heading in the right direction. That's cool. They're doing this right and they're doing that right, and great acquisition here and this here.
How do they break trust?
How do they break trust? They're always
how do they break trust?
Up.
Because
what did they do to break trust?
Because of these events that they do, where they have Xbox influencers come in and they're hanging out and they're breaking bread and they're taking pictures together.
Okay, stop right there. Xbox influencers.
Yes,
Xbox. That's the problem right there.
Exactly.
But where are they breaking trust?
They're breaking trust with them because they feel betrayed because this is my friend. They're not think about how you have like a friend, right?
Okay.
You expect your friend not to steal from you. You expect your friend not to change up and turn his back. So when these influencers see things going in a direction that they don't want to go, they feel betrayed. They developed a parasocial relationship, and that's the problem. Xbox should have never done stuff like that, where the CEOs and executives.
No, come on. Xbox can do, or the company can do what it wants. If you are psychologically imbalanced and you develop a parasocial psycho relationship, how is that the company's fault? Because
I'm not saying it is the company's fault, but the company shouldn't have done that to begin with. Because it's like,
why not? It's not the company's fault.
When does PlayStation do that? When does Nintendo do that?
It's not about, like Jay already said, it's not deflecting the PlayStation. If Microsoft were to do an event and I go to the event and I take a picture or get a shot or something like that and I leave, that's fine. The company has done nothing wrong. But if I take that same situation and I all of a sudden it's, oh man, these guys are my best friends and things like that. That's not Microsoft's fault. That is as you said, the influencers.
It does go a little farther than that. Some of these guys do have private breakfasts. There's only like 12 of them there. Like there is like a certain group of them that get preferential treatment and that know these guys a little bit more. But I agree. I also agree with you. Like I don't think you should be getting attached to any of these companies. I don't think you should take it personal.
It's like talking to a girl, right? And you're taking out to dinner. You know what I mean? You're buying her whatever. But she find out that you messing around with another girl, man. I think you know what I'm saying? Like, I think she gonna find an Xbox gamer if the girl.
I think you're giving them too much credit because I don't think they've ever kissed a girl. So I mean, they're crazy.
I'm saying they have set up. I agree with RGT. They set up these meetings, and they're very accessible in party chats and stuff like that, where it does build that or it's perceived that these people are your friends because they are talking to you. They're the heads of this place and talking to you and having dinner with you,
following you on Twitter.
Yeah. It's not real. That's not real.
But you know what?
That's not real life.
It's not. But they I think the Xbox leadership did foster that kind of environment, that parasocial. They really like promoted it. They fostered it. People fell for it. Then you have fans that saw some of these content creators sitting down with Phil Spencer and having breakfast and dinner with the Xbox staff, and then they would almost prop these content creators as like demigods. And then it really, look, and I get a lot of heat for saying this, but there's certain elements of that community that operate like a cult. Like there's no, like, you're not allowed to have any critical inquiry. You're not allowed to question anything. You have to like I have been blocked by and I will, Mooch, I'll call you on this for your creation. I won't name his name, but he's someone who's a little bit older than we are. I questioned him about something that he put out that was disinformation, and I got blocked. And like that's how cults behave. Like not called cults. I said cults.
No, I get you. Well, I'm just lost where I work in the medical field, and I'm what I am really hearing is a bunch of imbalanced people that are, So and why can't we just say that?
No, cannibalize my channel by not constantly being kumbaya and praising everything Microsoft has ever done, and it's killed my channel. But whatever.
Hey, Noof, that's so true, because I used to have more people on my channel, and then when we started like questioning Xbox, Microsoft, people got angry. Braps Braps. And first of all, I don't. My primary platform is not the peasant console stuff. It's PC. So I just want to put that.
He's got to throw that PC out there all the time.
So the rest of us. Look, the rest of us are on the champagne room, just drinking champagne.
We're all like, we're all neutral and blah blah blah. We just love games. It really doesn't matter. Blah blah blah. And then I post if I stream a game from the PlayStation, guess what? Nobody comes out and watches my streams either that considers themselves a diehard Xbox guy, or they're supposed to be neutral, but they won't watch my stream. But if I'm on an Xbox, they'll watch the stream. You know what I mean? Or like if I post something online, a picture off of the PlayStation, like a photo, I could see who likes my shit and who's not liking my shit. Yeah. And why is it always the same people? But if I did something Xbox positive, it'd be like, those people like my picture. They like, but they so don't fake your neutralism, because mostly I can see through your fakeness like a pair of fake boobies. It's just unbelievable, man.
These guys haven't seen.
Don't say a bad word about Xbox, man.
No, I haven't seen that.
Noof, you're going down that dark path, man. I see who's coming around next week. You're a big old pony, you dirty dick licker, you dirty bugger.
Yeah, but to Messiah's point, it is. I think there's some mental health issues there.
Yeah.
Nobody should be having a parasocial relationship with corporations. No one should be treating content creators like they're demigods and like they're infallible and their word is the word of Christ itself. Like that's ridiculous. And no gaming community should operate in a cult. Like
they shouldn't take it personal. It's okay.
You don't take it personal.
It's okay to be invested. Hey, I really loved the OG Xbox and the 360. I had amazing, wonderful, nostalgic times with that. I will always care about and think about those times. I care about Xbox, but I'm not going to take it as a personal attack. They're going to do what they have to do.
I have my heart on my streams. I am not holier than thou.
My favorite game, and for people in the chat, my favorite game is published by Microsoft. It was Mass Effect. We don't get Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Like J Empire, dude, they had their moments.
That kind of ties back in that, and I'm glad you brought that up, Craig, because it does tie things back into where we were with the gaming conversation. That is, if it's not broke, you don't fix it. And Correct. You heard RGT say, and RGT, I'm not putting words in your mouth. You were talking about the Switch 2. But you said Switch 2 is going to be traditional, right? It's going to take the cartridge again. It's going to have the digital storefront. Probably going to stick in the same essence of the handheld development that they have now. PlayStation the PS6 is going to be a stronger PS5. Microsoft had something.
Wait, how the hell we got to PS6 now, man?
No. Listen. I'm not going PS6. I'm just trying to say like that was that article that you can call it a nothing burger. That's fine. I'm just saying gradual progression moving forward. Let's just say PS5 Pro. Okay, going to be a natural progression. The 360 era was and everybody, PlayStation fans always say this. Even the hardcore ones are like, the 360, that was hot. When that moment was that was on fire. It was a beautiful console. They had the exclusives with third party. They were firing on all cylinders. They probably had, I know a lot of people were going to get in trouble. I thought the 360 controller was much better than the PS3 controller. They really were starting to hit home, right? The ergonomics worked great. Everything was great. So all of a sudden on Xbox One, they don't venture too far out, but they go in with the Kinect, and they went in with a couple of the tech things, which, again, I'm on the record saying I didn't think that was a problem. Really, I think that the Xbox One really got a bad rap. I think the media went way too hard with the 900p thing. At the end of the day, right? The games still look good. They played good. But then PlayStation...
No, they didn't, Mooch.
Say again?
No, they didn't. Not compared to PC, but go ahead.
Well, not the PC. No, that's true. You have me on that one. But I do want to say this much, though. And Brap, now that you're here, we were just kind of getting into a subject where I had to leave. I was on Brap for 2.5 hours last night, and I had to leave. It was 11:30 at night. Brap still went till like midnight. I got 2 super chats. I don't want to hear Brap's take on this. Shout out to Jay Love. He says, I need Mooch to do some voice work for me. You know, Jay, I got to be honest with you, Jay. I thought, I watched all these shows when they were first being showed to us, like America's Got Talent, okay, and all these things. And they're like, you never know. YouTube, I think, Bieber was found on YouTube. And I said, maybe if I go on the air, I could do a couple of WNBC. I thought I could get a couple of spots. I got nothing, Jay. So I'm always up. Well, I could do a Giants game, absolutely. Or a Mets game. But nonetheless.
Yeah, you need to hit the sports radio.
I do got to do sports radio. Shout out to Anthony Smith. He's in the chat. He says, what's up, Mooch?
66,
the fan. Yes. Thank you, Jay, for representing New York. I love it. So shout out to Jay. Always, man. Raji says, on competition, the gaming industry is the biggest in the world. Big companies will want a bit of that pie, so think Apple. PlayStation needs to make sure they create a big deterrent to entry. Shout out to Raji. That's delicately written. Very nice.
That's not something that will fly too quickly. Deterrent to entry's not going to make more money for them.
Yeah,
and it'll get them in trouble with regulators. So, and
the
barrier of entry. The barrier of entry is dropping because of the cloud streaming options that are coming available now. Anyway, so it's. If you want to go in and compete in the traditional console market, you might as well not bother, because there's far cheaper and faster ways of coming to market with offerings than trying to manufacture something. You can just go out and rent the server space and basically buy it off the shelf and get it out there next month.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I just to me, I mean, I think I think you just have some imbalanced people, and
that's a very kind way of putting it.
Yeah, I'm in the medical field, so I'm trying to be upfront with this.
Hey, Falky, like that certain individual we were just having a conversation with today.
Some people are just batshit crazy. There's no other way to put it.
You do have a point. You do have a point, Messiah. We are getting to the point where like streaming is like, I was just on my PlayStation streaming PS3 games the other day, and I didn't have any problem, man. I was playing MotorStorm and Infamous, and it's getting to the point where you're going to start seeing a lot of changes. I think it's finally getting workable.
I think it really comes down to it comes down to your personal, internet capabilities, and it also comes down to the game you're playing. Gamut. It depends on what you're playing. It's
very true.
There's certain games I've streamed and I've had tremendous success. There's other games I stream, and you listen. If you've been gaming as long as everybody on this panel and myself and everybody in the chat, because everybody here is hardcore. You're not listening to gaming podcasts, and you're not on a gaming podcast unless you've been gaming for a very long time. The minute you start playing a streaming game, how off it really is. You don't need the thing hooked up to any type of machine to tell you what the delay is. There's just something wrong, and it's instant. But there's other games that are flawless. Gamut. It just depends. Like, I have the PlayStation Portal. It's a remote play device. I know what games I'm going to play on that. You have games like Sea of Stars. If you wanted to play, outstanding. I was playing Last of Us Part 1. I platinumed Part 1 again, right? You do it again. I platinumed that game on I think it was PS4, now PS5. But my point being is that's a great game for that type of device or that type of service. I don't recommend really playing Apex Legends on your Portal. Can it? Yes, but you will feel something that doesn't feel natural like you do when you're on your couch with your controller and your dedicated hardware. Brap, the one thing I wanted to ask you now that you got to the show here, I'm glad you can make the show.
By the way, you always under promise, over deliver.
I try.
No, that's what I did. I'm like, I won't be here today, and then I'm here. See?
That's what you say. You did
On
do
the
that.
promise over deliver.
Listen, I'm not going to lie to you, so I'll put the secret out there. The secret's out there. Brap a lot of times is like, Mooch, I can't make it till 8. He's here at 7:30. Tonight he said, I can't make it. I knew he was. I was like, yeah, okay. I didn't even remember. I didn't even say anything. I'm like, okay, because I know you'll be on the show.
Hey, Mooch,
yes.
since we're on the subject, before you get rolling again, man, I might have to get going here. So,
Hey, Gambit, thank you, brother.
Excellent. Yeah, hey, thank you for having me. It's been great. I'll keep listening. It's a real interesting topic. Big week. Just y'all relax until we actually hear official word, and we'll see what's up.
I agree 100%. Everybody needs to relax.
That's right.
All
Yeah, that's good
thanks.
advice.
Thanks for everybody. You guys have a good night.
Thank you,
I
Gambit.
think Xbox need to stop being so vague with everything too, man. You know what I mean? Like every Xbox or every podcast talking about this meeting or this event.
Yeah.
Where if any of this stuff was true, you could have easily like just quelled all of the issues right there in that same tweet. But
That's
they gotta
right.
be so vague with everything. Everything is not transparent. It went on kind of funny to explain to the Xbox fans that they're going forward, they're gonna be transparent, they're gonna tell people about frame rates, they're gonna tell people about this, and you still ain't doing that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's a really good point, Jay.
Bobby Kotick has changed his name to Bobby Kotex, and he has taken over a new division. That's what it is.
He got $400 million allegedly. So yeah, I don't
give it back to Microsoft.
Did you guys see Microsoft's response to the FTC? They said those layoffs were actually planned before like the merger went through or something.
Oh,
and I had heard that Kotick was supposed to actually he was the one that's supposed to announce those layoffs, and he just left and let Microsoft handle it. I'm like, oh man, he just took his golden parachute. He was like, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm going to jump in. I'm going to jump in there.
Go ahead, David.
I don't necessarily subscribe to that being correct. If they wanted to if it was meant to do that before the acquisition, so we're talking like 12, 14, 15 months, and then got told to hold off, to carry 2,000 people for 18 months that's done a huge detriment to the value that they would have got out. It would have been smarter from a sales perspective to dump them as soon as it was announced and just wear the pain of it, because they've cheated the shareholders out of a huge amount of value.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, they shrunk the value of that company. Now the shareholders want their money back, apparently. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna jump off here to Mooch and panel. I do appreciate it. And
great
again,
to have you,
shout out to everybody. Hey, listen to that the Brat podcast yesterday with Mooch and J Dub. Just really, really well done. Great questions by you, Brat. By the way, and shout out to everybody here on the panel. And make sure you all hit the like button. And if you listen on replay, make sure you type in #replay game. But yeah, like I said, I'm getting ready for the Super Bowl, and whatever happens next week, happens. It happens. It happens.
No, that's great. No, I appreciate it, Craig. Great to have you on the show as always, buddy. Looking forward to next week, buddy.
Yes,
thank you.
All right, Craig. See you, man.
Yep.
Shout out to Despair. I see him out there asking the question. So, I mean, now, Brap, I wanted to ask you about the monopoly. We were talking a little bit about the concern of the PlayStation monopoly, and then I'm gonna. Well, not the video. Not the one with the guy with the monocle and the big mustache. No.
Okay.
It is the the fact that PlayStation may be able to. And then after that, guys, I do want to mention that I want to talk to the great Jay Bari about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the demo, and a few other things about Helldivers 2 we're going to get into, as you can see some of the footage on screen right now. But, Brap, do you fear that a monopoly could exist if Xbox was to settle down and take a back seat as a third-party publisher?
Yeah. I don't think I think that they may have a monopoly in the high-end console space. And yes, I'm using that term because I do believe that there is a high-end console. I've had this debate back and forth with the Brap, and I'm like, no, Brap, Nintendo makes consoles, but Nintendo's console experience, and I said this last night on Brap, isn't commensurate with PlayStation. Like, you're not getting VRR on the Nintendo Switch. You're not getting HDR on the Nintendo Switch. You're not getting ray tracing on the Nintendo Switch. You might pay $70 for a game like Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, but that game isn't commensurate with. Although it was a hell of a game, and big kudos to the wizards at Nintendo for squeezing all the juice they could out of the Nintendo Switch to make a beautiful game. But I mean, it's not commensurate with big AAA games you see on Xbox and PlayStation. So I think that what we were discussing last night, and the one piece that I mentioned is that there were people celebrating the demise of Xbox and saying, "Oh, this is great." I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. Like, we talk about consolidation in the marketplace not being good, right? More competition being good for consumers." I just went through the same exercise with Xfinity right now because they're the only. And it was so funny because it happened today. They're the only cable provider, internet provider in the town that I live in, and it's maddening. And I literally had the person tell me, "Well, in counties and areas where there's more competition, like Verizon Fios, we actually have more competitive packages, and they don't have that here where I live because they don't need to, because they're the only game in town. So you don't have a choice. It's either like, what, F you, pay me, or what, you can just go to DSL. Verizon does have DSL, and I'm not going to DSL, or I could try to like maybe throw a satellite in my roof and see how that plays out. But
right.
The only thing that I mentioned was the concern. And if you listen to Brad, we talk about the concern of mass consolidation in the industry, less suppliers in the market, and Sony would be left to their own devices. And the law of economics and in regards to competition states that like when there's no competition, there's only one seller or group of sellers. They can set the price and quantity of the product or services without any regard for demand or preference for the buyers. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying that's I'm not saying that like Jim Ryan's going to rip. I know Jim Ryan's leaving soon, but Jim Ryan's going to rip off his shirt like Hulk Hogan and run down the ramp like the Ultimate Warriors and raise the price of the PlayStation 5 by like $500. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying though is there is something to be said for competition because it does lead to innovation. You look at what happened in the CPU space with Intel when Intel was kind of on cruise control. AMD came in and started taking their lunch money. And what did Intel do? They came back. They started innovating again, making better CPUs. We kind of see this a little bit in the GPU market. A lot of people complain the PC side. Oh my God, I can't believe how expensive GPUs are. It's because there's only two people making well, not two anymore. Intel's in the game.
Yeah.
So anytime we have more competition, and this is what I was trying to say, anytime we have more competition in the space, viable competition. And no, I'm sorry, Nintendo's not really a direct competitor of Sony. There's a market stratification within. There's market stratification. What's it?
Jay disagrees with that.
No, I mean, that's fine. I mean, Jay's entitled to his opinion, but the reality is there's market stratification in the gaming space. Nintendo caters to a different consumer base who has different use cases, different needs. Is there some crossover with hardcore? Absolutely. But PC gamers aren't high-end PC gamers who spend $3,000 on rigs aren't the consumer base that is going to flock to PlayStation that PlayStation is targeting. Again, there is market stratification in the gaming console or in the gaming industry. We see that's why we have mobile. That's why we have console. That's why we have PC. I mean, and even with console, there's market stratification there with Nintendo and PlayStation for the things that I just mentioned. That those experiences are commensurate, all on par with one another. And frankly, cater to two different consumers. So no different than any other industry that we see.
I do see. Yeah, no, Brap, I see where you're going with that too. So Jay,
I just went on a rant there.
No, it's fine. That was a good rant. But Jay, you say you disagree. There are some easy ways to align what Brap's saying as far as what happens between Xbox and PlayStation, especially with some of these third-party, say they're gruesome horror games, right? You don't see a lot of those going over to Nintendo, right? So is that customer over there on Switch? I'm not saying yes or no. I'm asking you. Where is it you disagree with that?
Yeah, I disagree because if you look at the totality of both companies, they offer the same thing. You know what I mean? With direct competition is you have two companies that are selling consoles in the console market that is providing video games. Everybody, when people say that Nintendo's not a real big direct competition with PlayStation, they only thinking about the exclusive games. That's not what it is. Majority of the games are both on the same console. Both are fighting for that market share when it comes to the Japanese space, fighting game space, where Nintendo will have this game as a timed exclusive before PlayStation get it, and they're doing that because they look at PlayStation as competition. PlayStation do vice versa, because they look at Nintendo's competition because they want that consumer to come to their platform rather than the other one.
Okay. No, and actually that's a hell of a rebuttal, to be honest with you, because there is that fight for that. The Japanese market is out there, right? And you have Xbox even trying to get on the Japanese developers. They're doing it in a totally different approach. I think Nintendo and Sony both want to have those developing teams in their pocket and working for them directly, or exclusively. Whereas, Xbox right now is, everyone's like, wow, Xbox is really doing it. Brap, you're a big fan of Atlas games as well. And, you'll say, well, they got Persona 5 in Game Pass. And it's like, that's great, but Persona 5 has been out for a long time. Oh, they got the new Persona 3 game in Game Pass. And it's like, that's great, but it's selling really. I think there was a tweet that came out from Atlas saying they sold it like gangbusters, like the P3.
1 million copies.
Right. And that's thanks in part to PC and PlayStation. And you might go, well, how do I know that? If it's in Game Pass, I don't see people going, no, I'm not going to get it on Game Pass on Xbox. I'll buy it. I mean, did some people buy it on Xbox? Absolutely. But did more people pick it up on Game Pass? Absolutely. So, it kind of is what it is. But I do want to get to some games here real quick because we got to talk some video games for a second. Jay, can I bug you for a second about the state of play? I thought that it was fantastic. I thought they did a really good job of showing off Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Jay, I guess my question for you would be, what did you think? And my only slight to the whole thing is, did they show too much? I mean, they showed a lot of the game. I saw a lot of people say, I'm turning this off. I don't want to see this much game right now. What did you think, Jay?
Yeah, that's been the case for every showing of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. They've been showing a lot of the game. But the developers, they're all saying there's a lot there. This last PlayStation state of play, it definitely showcased that there's a lot to be done in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But I thought it was every showing has been great, but I do feel like it's a Square Enix problem where they do showcase a little bit too much of the story or the game, where there's no real big surprise or reveal because they're trying so hard to sell people on the game to get the game, where this scene might be cool or whatnot. But to the hardcore fans that's already sold, you're showing a little bit too much out there. But yeah, I think Rebirth is great. Played the demo, had a wonderful time. I'm going to be very vague with a lot of things that I'm saying because I don't want to spoil it for anybody that's like trying to wait it out because it's only a couple more weeks until the game's there.
That's right.
But drastically improved on the combat for Rebirth 100%. Adding new little techniques here and there, making it much more layered, but it's still fun as like the original remake game, which I deem as one of the best combats in a JRPG. But yeah, Rebirth they took that and just elevated it in my opinion. But yeah, they're doing a great job in my opinion from a purist of the original game, my favorite game of all time. Playing this demo and seeing where the direction they're going and see where they started off. I'm just like, the demo was only like 40 minutes, but it took me like 3 hours. You know what I mean? I played it like multiple times. Just going look through every little nook and cranny of the game. But yeah, I think people are in for a treat when it comes to Rebirth, man. So hopefully people will go out and get it. If they haven't played the remake series yet, hopefully they get into it with remake, because they do have like a twin pack where if you do pre-order or you buy Rebirth, you get the original game free, the remake free with the DLC, the Yuffie intermission DLC. So it's a great time to get into the series, get into the game. And yeah, I'm loving every single bit of it, but they are showing too much with it.
Jay, I'm glad you agree with that. RGT85, Sean, I got to ask you. So first, did you play the demo? And B, just to piggyback off what Bari said, in all honesty, I mean, Final Fantasy 16 showed a lot before they launched as well. So this seems to be, generally when you see this from a dev team, Sean, this shows an enormous amount of confidence. So, like, what did you think? Did you get a chance to play the demo? Did you check out the state of play?
I watched some of the state of play. I didn't check out the demo just because I don't know. With RPGs, I rarely ever check out a demo just because I want to just play through the game as I play through it. But I have heard, because I like, what was your time for remake? Because mine was I want to say 23 hours or so.
I think if I had to look it up, can we look it up on the app, Jay? Is it on the app?
Oh, like how long it took?
How many hours to play through remake? Yeah.
Oh, like my first playthrough of remake, it probably took me around 60 some hours, I want to say.
I thought I was in the mid 40s for me. But that was because, Sean, I was deliberating going for the platinum, and then I just didn't. I didn't though. I didn't get it.
Yeah,
I didn't get it.
I don't.
I know that's what I find fascinating. I got to be honest with you guys. Gaming all these years, achievements, trophies, however you go about it. I always ask Sean this. I remember Sean. I think I asked you this one of the first times you were on the show. I asked Dreamcast guy. You guys have all the same answers, and I can't remember if I asked Spawn. I can't remember if I've asked him, but I'm gonna go ahead and just say
he kind of does.
Right.
Dreamcast guy
he doesn't.
No,
always does he?
He'll go back.
Oh, he'll go back. Okay, all right.
He just likes to brag about it. I could I could care less.
All right, Sean.
I'm playing the game. I'm doing what I want to do in it. I've never platinum anything, but I have heard that this game is substantially bigger. It was kind of word of mouth from somebody who's actually someone told me that they were told by someone reviewing the game that they're like upper 60 hours and they're still not even done with it, and they're not really like being super meticulous with it.
Jeez.
So it seems like this is going to be like a massive game, but I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be awesome. I think I know what the plot twist is at the end of the game, and I'm interested to see if that's the direction they go. But no, it looks great. I did hear there were some issues kind of with the demo as far as visuals were concerned, like they were kind of soft in performance mode.
Performance mode definitely have that little uncertain characters have that little fuzziness towards it. I think it looks great when you get into battle and like the boss fights and stuff, but just to render all of that stuff at 60 or I don't know what it is, but I don't know the technical jargon, but there's definitely some fuzziness around it.
But I mean, when you look at it, it's kind of like, well, this is probably one of the better visual feasts that we've had on consoles in a long time. But no, I'm super excited for the game. I really enjoyed the first one, minus some of the padding, but it seems like this one isn't going to have nearly as much padding because you have so much more to do.
Did you notice when you were playing, Jay, just because I was going to ask you guys as well, and anybody chime in if you did, but I didn't play the demo. You guys know this. I kind of said it on Brap. I did a bit of a Mooch rant last night. I've never been a big fan of demos. I think demos are a good thing when you're on the fence. If you're like, that's a game that I might buy, but I'm just not sure if I'm going to like it, and then they throw out a demo, go for it. The example I gave last night, and I'll say it again on the air tonight here, was Forspoken. Forspoken's a much better game than the demo led you to believe. I did not like the demo's representation. It's just the way that it threw you into the game. You were like, where am I? What am I doing? And these powers make no sense. If you play the game from the beginning, you know what I mean, Jay? Because you played Forspoken as well. I know the demo for Forspoken.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of demos that they start you from the beginning, and they will continue to save. So when you get the final game, wherever you've left off in the demo, you start from there. And Square Enix is known for doing that with their demos. They didn't do that with Forspoken for some strange reason. But they give you an incentive to play the demo. So if you finish and complete this demo, you get like a charm, or you get like some other little items or whatnot. But you also can pretty much skip that part that you played already in the day, because it's legit the beginning of Rebirth. It's a demo right now. They said they added in the Junon area, I think at the 21st or something like that. But you can skip that part if you want to do so when the final game comes out. So yeah, I like that stuff when they do that with demo.
Yeah, that's a good point, that additive part, Jay. But I mean, like, it can, I don't know, sometimes I think the way that they can place you, and I'm not talking about Rebirth, I'm talking about demos in general. I've never been a big fan of it, because I said most times, like this game, like Rebirth, there's no way you played Remake and you're like, I'm not really sure. Not sure if I'm going to get Rebirth. Of course, if you beat Remake, you're going to play Rebirth. I mean, why would you not? It's like you saw Back to the Future 1, but you decided 2. No, I'm not in. Of course you're in. What the hell happened to Marty's kids? So my point is, I mean, you got to, of course I want to play Rebirth. So I didn't really get into it. But again, Forspoken, I was not sure, jumped into it, and I said, man, maybe I'm not going to buy this. And I said, you know what? What the hell? It was one of those ones where I just said, I gave it a shot. I ended up enjoying the game. But when it comes out, did anybody else play? I know, Brad, you played a bit of the demo, and you also mentioned what RGT was hearing about a bit of that, like, the soft imaging. Some of that may have been
washed out a little bit at times.
Yeah.
But it's not. I got to say though, even for Performance Moon, I said this last night on BRAP, which goes live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Shameless plug. That it and Mooch was on last night, so definitely check out last night's show.
Great show.
Yeah, thank you. I even in Performance Moon, I thought it looked pretty good. I mean, yeah, it looks a little washed out at times, but I mean, it definitely looks like a PS5 game, and it looks pretty impressive, I thought. And I tried to toggle back to graphics mode. I just can't deal with the frames like that. I just can't. I'm so used to playing like games at like high FPS.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't do it. But I think it looks great, and I think the demo from what I played, and I got to go back and finish playing it tonight. I thought it was great. I mean, this game, I think, and I know it's early, and Logic always kind of shakes his fist at me for blurting out Game of the Year so early in the year when we haven't seen what other games released. But I could see this game being in Game of the Year consideration. I mean, it was the last one was nominated for Game of the Year. So I will say this: I didn't think I was going to sit at Tifa's piano and play her theme song, but I did for quite some time. So that game, a lot of nostalgia for me because I remember playing the original when it came out on the PlayStation 1. So there's just a lot of nostalgia for me with this game, and I'm just really looking forward to playing it at the end of the month.
Did anybody else on the panel play Rebirth? I wanted to get their opinion on it. David, Noof?
No, sorry.
That's okay. No, it's fine. Now the $1 million question. Did anybody play Helldivers 2 yet? I asked the great Jay Barry. Jay says may play it this evening, may play it tomorrow. Did anybody play Helldivers 2 yet?
Well, I have a good reason why I haven't played Helldivers 2 yet. Like I said, I might play it tonight or most likely push it out tomorrow. But I've been playing this wonderful game, Mooch, man.
Talk about it, Jay.
Fantasy Relink.
Yes, talk about it.
Okay. This is one of the best games to come out this year. It's so addicting. It's very, very addicting, man. Like, I have never played a game. Well, I've played many games, but this game, I can play a boss or do a quest, and I can do that for like 3 hours straight and not get tired of it. That's how addicted the gameplay is for me.
Wow.
Personally. And I just been I'm in this grind session in the end game where I'm trying to get like certain gear or weapons. And yeah, I'm addicted to it, man. I love this game. But I will be diving into Helldivers very, very soon because I did like the original game for Helldivers, and I do like the third person perspective. I see a lot of things that they did in the game that's pretty good. And yeah, I just think it's a fun game overall. And it has that difficulty curve in there. Where you got to watch out for the friendly fire or where you place your stratagems and stuff like that. So I kind of like that. I like that concept as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But Grand Blue is definitely this is like my second most anticipated game following Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So this month alone, I'm in heaven, because 2 games that I've been anticipating for years is finally here and I'm playing it, and I'm stuck in here. I'm stuck playing it.
No, I can't blame you. And honestly, that was a game that I did check out the demo for. I did like it. The only reason I didn't purchase it, Jay, is just as you can see on screen. I'm addicted to No Return from Last of Us Remastered. I really love this mode. I'm not gonna lie to you, and I am maybe about a quarter, maybe 33% through on the grounded permadeath run that I'm doing. So I'm doing this, and I was like, I was about to buy like that game based off of you and Persona talking, and I was like, problem is I just don't, and I know you got Rebirth coming, Helldivers 2, so I do want to make an announcement, and then I want to ask Noof a question. But just so you guys know, while we have over about 540 people here, which I really appreciate, we were over 750 tonight. Guys coming out, really appreciate the move to Thursday being a success. Thursday night, 7 p.m. really seems to be a great time for CrossFire. I do want to say, tomorrow, twitch.tv, I'm going to put my link in the chat, twitch.tv/MoochTV. That's M00, M-O-O, drop the O's for 0, CHTV. We are going to be over there around 3 p.m. Me and the great J-Dub City. We are going to be streaming, and there's going to be others that may be popping in. I think Jez7780, maybe Brap, a few others are going to be popping in. I think we can get 3 at a time playing on Helldivers. We're going to be playing a lot of Helldivers. I'm hoping to go 2-3 hours on the stream and then really kind of roll through the weekend doing this. So go over and check me out on Twitch. We're going to be doing that again, same as YouTube. Mooch TV, drop the O's for zeros. Same thing over there, 3 p.m. tomorrow. I'll be advertising it tonight on Twitter and all through tomorrow. So hopefully you guys will come over and hang out with us. It's going to be a really good time. Noof, have you gotten a chance to try Helldivers 2? I really think a lot of times I see the games you play. I know the games you kind of like in the multiplayer space. This one seems like it would call your name, Noof. Has it caught any interest?
Yeah, like I'm watching your video on screen here right now, and it does look pretty good. It kind of gives me a little bit of an Outriders vibe for some really reason, but I've never played the first game. So, but that's the kind of vibe I'm picking up off it, mixed with a few other different games. It looks pretty cool, and I might give it a try eventually. But just right now, it's a little further down the radar, I guess you could say. Like I just wrapped up Resident Evil 4 on the PSVR 2, and my God, that was amazing. And speaking of, that's something I want to see Sony go full force in. I want to see a little bit more support behind it. I've spent a lot of money on what I feel is one of the best VR experiences that you can get at that price range. I love it. I mean, I'm anybody here who's got a PlayStation 5, by God, add me to your friends list. Let's play some PSVR multiplayer games, because it's really hard to find a really good people to play some of those games with. A really good one that came out on the Meta Quest a long time ago was Walkabout Mini Golf, but you can get it on the PlayStation VR, and it's such a fun game to play with your friends, and it's so chill, right? But
Absolutely.
That's just one example, and so a lot of great stuff on the PSVR already, but I can't wait to see. Like, I want to see Sony not kind of go half-assed on this and kind of give up on it. Like, the third-party support's kind of been coming, but I want to see, like, they really haven't had a whole lot of stuff for it since launch. And even that Firewall game, which I got excited for, looks like that came out and was like DOA for some weird reason. So
that had some problems.
I want to see more stuff from that.
That had some problems at launch. I will say this much, good on you to make the comment that you made. I really do hope that Sony does continue to keep a strong library coming, but I will say this much: there's a lot of games available for PSVR 2 right now. I mean, I remember having a conversation with somebody like months ago, and they said that they counted about 150 games on the PSVR 2 library that you can buy in the store. I would assume it's that or more now. And Arizona Sunshine 2, I was playing. Noof, by the way, we definitely have to link up if you want to play this. There's a lot of good multiplayer games out there. Couple people to really talk to. I know that, like, shout out to BG. He's been playing he played a lot of multiplayer games. I know Pavlov is another one that J-Dub is pissed that I've not bought yet. But that's another great game, strategy kind of Call of Duty type style game. But there's a lot out there on PSVR too. I just don't think it gets a lot of attention in the community. It is a $500 cost right now. I think when that reaches maybe around this holiday, the rumor was that around this holiday it was going to go down in price. I think once that goes down in price, you'll see more people pick it up and give it a shot. One of the topic that I do want to go to before we call it an evening here is, RGT, I got to ask you, Sean. Here's the thing. When I see something, and I've been saying this a long time on the channel, and Sean, you've been here as a guest multiple times throughout the entire generation, okay? Like, I've always said that media is consumed differently, okay? Movies, music, video games. Video games, even when you're just scrolling through and playing a game to have fun, you're still sitting down for a while. Your eyes, your hands, you're fixated on a controller, your TV. You are basically zoned out on everything else, and that's why we enjoy video games so much. We get so tuned in, and we're so into the game story or action that we're playing. Recently, we just saw again that Disney has lost 1.3 million subs in quarter four. And I kind of want to ask you this in twofold, because you do talk a lot of media and you talk about a lot of stuff that's just overall entertainment on your channel. Like, when it comes down to it, Sean, if Disney, that has Marvel, has Star Wars, is losing people and not keeping the attention with content, and watching a show or binging a series is quite easy. I mean, you could finish like a fifth of vodka and enjoy an entire series of a show, right? Just sitting on your couch. Video games are a different animal. Like, it takes engagement. It's a different way to consume media. So when you see things like this is me. So I'm asking the question. You can say, Mooch, I don't feel that way at all. I think you're off kilter on this. That's fine. But when I see Disney and I see these other companies, even Netflix that was struggling for a bit there, they're kind of trying going up again, and now they've left making their own movies, and now they're doing just these like smaller kind of projects. Like, that's the smarter way for them to make more money. But when you see them struggling with this type of content, that's what I've always questioned over these years, and that's what I'm wondering, just to tie back in full circle before we end the show. How does Game Pass survive? Is that why maybe we have not seen it go in from 2017 to now? It's staggered somewhere between 25 million and 33 million. It's hard to get even gamers to get antiquated with something they want to pay $20 a month where there's 200 games in there. But you're like, I can only play one at a time, Sean. So when you see Disney having a hard time, Do you ever stop and think? Because I mean, you have a channel, you talk games all the time. Doesn't that correlate a 1-to-1 where it's easy to just binge a TV show? It's a lot harder to binge 15 games. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, some of it comes down to, I know it'll probably sound weird to some extent, but too much choice.
Yeah.
You have too many. It's like one of those all-in-one, handhelds from China where you have like a million games on it. But people still go out and buy old Game Boy games, knowing that they could buy that handheld that has everything on that.
Yep.
Because of different reasons. They want to have what you're going to play. The choice is already there for you. So I do feel like, I also feel like a lot of these companies, they got big-headed during the pandemic. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You had everyone sitting at home. So of course things like subscription services are going to start popping up and popping off, and people are doing nothing. They're sitting.
Yeah, we're stuck in the house for almost a year and a half.
Right. And then once that cleared up, everything went back to status quo. I think there's just far too many streaming services out there now for stuff like movies and shows, and the whole point was to get away from something like cable. And now you're paying more for all these damn streaming services just to watch the shows you want to watch. So I think some choice is good in things like Game Pass, but sustainability wise, if you're paying all this money to have all these games to be put on Game Pass, if you're sacrificing first party game sales because of Game Pass, because a vast majority of people are just going to play the game on Game Pass, at some point in time there has to be a breaking point.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I it's funny because when you put it into words and you speak about it on a podcast, a lot of people can interpret it the wrong way. But that massive library of games in Game Pass, listen, look at what we just said. So whether you're playing, let's leave the last of it remastered out for this particular conversation. Helldivers 2, then you have Rebirth, then you have Rise of the Ronin, you have Dragon's Dogma 2, then you have Stellar Blade. Then you have even Hellblade, right? An Xbox game. Those are the games that you have leading up. Not to mention the backlog that we all have of games that you either started, you're playing through, you've never even opened, or haven't even started yet. So when people say to me all the time, Mooch, why would you be willing when your Game Pass subscriptions run out? Why are you okay with getting rid of it? I say, well, I don't need 250 games. I have about 100 games in my backlog I haven't even touched. I have new games coming out, right? I have games coming out every 3 to 4 weeks at this point. There's only so much time. I love these. And then you also have your favorites. A lot of the games that are in Game Pass are older games that I've either passed, played and beat, or I own. So I don't need that in a numerous number of games. And I've been okay with canceling. Yes. Like I canceled Disney Plus a long time ago. Right after like the last season of The Mandalorian, I was like, I'm out. Like there's just not enough here. Mm-hmm. I own all the Avengers and I own all the Star Wars games, Star Wars movies and the Avengers movies that I want to own. I don't need to keep paying that. I think what a lot of people have is another fear. Like you go home every day, you turn on your Xbox and you're like, wow. And you guys can correct me with the number. I'll use the number 200. Maybe it's 250 or 300 now. I don't know how many games are in Game Pass. But like, you go to your library and you hit Game Pass library and you see 200, 250 games. Wow. You're like, oh my God. You see that after a year, right? If you were to cancel Game Pass the next day when you go to turn on your console, you're like, oh, I got like 5 games. Let's say you're just new to gaming. Like, I got 5 games. You're like, oh, I miss having that library. But my question to everybody is, do you miss the library? Like, I would turn on Disney Plus and I would look at that library of movies they have, and I was like, I've seen all of these movies. I own a lot of these movies, and the movies I haven't seen or own, I don't want to watch. I was just like, I just don't. And I think that's the way. And Sean, you made a great point with the pandemic. Go ahead, Noof.
Look, Game Pass. I've said this all along. Look, I totally think that it does a lot more help for when it comes to smaller titles and indie titles that have struggling for exposure. I definitely think that's the biggest win for the majority. Not saying in all cases, but the majority. Okay. I think you see a lot of smaller devs who say, our game did a lot better after Game Pass because more people were willing to try it. I mean, when we're tied up for money and you're buying games, on a digital store, you're either waiting for a sale or you only got so much money and time that you can spend on anything, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to pick up the ones that are most interesting to you. And like, there's a lot of games, you know, like I'll give you a perfect example. Bramble, fantastic little game that I played through Game Pass.
Yep.
It was awesome. I probably wouldn't have spent any money on that originally, but I went and tried it because I heard it was good. It looked really interesting.
Yep.
I played it and finished it. Loved it. Perfect example of that. Now, not in all cases. Like, we've heard a few devs that kind of, you know, Game Pass might have killed some momentum. But for the most part, I think it does more good than bad for smaller titles, especially now in today's age. And RGT should know better than anybody. That you look on the Nintendo Switch store, and it's absolutely baffling because it's like 5 billion games on there a week. It feels like it's like how do you weed through all that stuff, right? Not to mention all the sales. So for me, I buy what I really want to buy. If it's a Gears of War title, if it's something big and I've been excited for years, I'm just going to go and dump the money on. I don't care if it's $60, $70, $80. I'm just going to buy it. Plus, I also know that there's no chance. Like, I have it. It's in my repertoire. You know, this because nothing drives you nuts. You just, you know, you get Game Pass, and then one of those games you've been playing, you got to go back to it and realize, oh, they just pulled it off Game Pass. So I literally got to go buy it now anyway. Right? Because you don't know when they're going to put it back on. So there's that sort of mystery box of when is this game going to, how long is it going to last on Game Pass, when is it going to get pulled off? So like I said, the benefits sure are there, but overall, man, it's just like, we only got so much money and so much time, and I'm with you, Mooch. I got enough backlog. I don't need 300-400 titles staring at me in the face. As a matter of fact, it just gets more daunting. I feel like I'm watching cable TV when I go on Game Pass, and you're like flicking through all the games, like, what do I want to play? What do I want to play?
Yeah.
Right? And then half of you play for 10 minutes, and you go, yeah, well, now I know why that was, why that game didn't do so well.
Well, you know,
I'm done with that one.
You said you gave a good example when you said, Sean, he must know with the Switch and the Nintendo store. That's true, the Nintendo eShop. But the thing about it, though, is, so the one thing I've really been enjoying, especially as of late, is, of course, I have Steam on my PC and my gaming rig, absolutely. But I bought a Steam Deck a while ago, and I bought the Valve docking station. And, you know, those games like Bramble and those other games you're talking about, those are advertised, believe it or not, quite often on Steam. You can see them, and they have things by dollar amount and this and that. And a lot of the games that are in Game Pass, yeah, by the way, if you enjoy them, I say go for it. Enjoy that. But a lot of those games are like $4, $5, $7, $6. And if when you wait a 6 months, they're like $3 on Steam. Like, I've bought a lot of just games to own, and then I could play a lot of those fun games that you're talking about, Noof, which are a lot more fun to play sometimes on handheld. Some of those smaller indie games, those are fun to play on the Steam Deck. I mean, Sean, I know you're a fan of the Steam Deck, right? Like, there's times a lot of these indie games that are on Nintendo, they're better on the handheld than when they're in the Nintendo docking station. I just feel that way. It just feels like the game was meant to be played that way. I don't know. Maybe it's just weird, but like, there's certain games like that. So I've been enjoying my Steam Deck a lot more. And then when it's a game that's like needs a little bit more attention, and it's a little more, I'm going to get a little more in depth with it, well, then I dock it to the TV, and I'm good to go. But, you know, very similar to the Switch, right? So I don't know. I think that I've always said that. I knew if you brought up a point, I kind of rambled there for a minute. My point was, if people have mentioned a lot of older games, well, Mooch, I play Game Pass because I like this older game, I like this older game, I like this one. A lot of those older games you're playing, you can actually buy on Xbox or Steam for like $5, $6, $7, and you own them. You know, and it's like, if you like them, like, just buy them. Like, you don't have to pay $16.99 a month, or $19.99 a month when it goes up eventually. Like, you know,
perfect example, Mooch. Spec Ops: The Line now delisted from any of the stores because they ran out of their licensing, and they're not going to pursue to reactivate those licenses. So if you didn't own Spec Ops: The Line now, you're pooched.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great example.
That's the game that got overlooked. But there's another example of where, you know, like some of that stuff, man, can come back to bite you in the ass, you know, if you're not buying it.
Yeah, David, anything you want to add? I know, Dave, you always look at the big corporations and money from a Disney standpoint, not necessarily just talking about Game Pass, but I mean, you think, you know, Disney losing $1.3 million, the reason that I made that as a topic tonight, it's not just as a correlation with streaming services and gaming, but Disney has IP and assets that are beloved for generations. I don't care if you're 80 years old or you're 8, you enjoy a lot of what they own and a lot of the assets that they have in IP. Like, my point is if they're losing $1.3 million in Q4, if I'm in the streaming business or I'm in the subscription business, I'm a little nervous when I see Disney losing people like that. I'm like, wait a minute. They got things people are like knocking other people down for. I don't have that what am I going to lose in quarter 4? You know what I mean, Dave? What are you thinking when you see these numbers?
Oh, it's, when you look at how much they've moved up and down with the comparative being last year or last quarter, and what does it mean? What's driven it? Like, there's a lot of things in the background here rather than, they lost 1.3 million subscribers. Like, there's multiple different reasons. Remember when Netflix brought in there, can't share passwords, bullshit, they then apparently lost 15-something million subscribers, and then the next quarter they gained 20-something million subscribers, and they've been on a charge up since then. So, it's an isolated reflection. I think what's more telling was, yesterday they came out and announced their $1.5 billion investment into Epic, and Fortnite's getting Disney World or Disneyland or Universe or whatever is going to be built there. So, and the new boss over at Disney goes, we looked at what the amount of time people spend playing video games, particularly Fortnite and Roblox and such, and it's equal to, if not more than, the time they spend watching movies and streaming, and we just have to be there. So there's a pivot from Disney to address an issue. What does that mean in terms of the sub numbers, and how is that going to play out? We don't know. They've got the same issue that every subscription service has got. They've got a massive back catalogue of IP that they can throw at it, but they've not bringing new IP to the forefront, or they're not bringing new iterations of the old IP to the forefront fast enough to keep people constantly engaged. So, like as you said yourself, you watch The Mandalorian, there's nothing else on there that you want, so you don't pay for the subscription, and then you pick it up again when something comes along that you do want. Well, if you're having to fork out the stupid amount of money that is required to run a streaming service, then you've got to make sure you've got something there all the time to keep everyone engaged. Otherwise, you just have this constant rotation of people on and off the service. If it fluctuates up and down based on what, your gaps in your content, you got a problem. You got to spend more money to get the content on there just to maintain that base. So how do you then turn that into more money per subscriber? Well, you've got to either start with advertising, which is passive, or you've got to go to selling certain components of the top end and whatnot. Or you got to diversify and find another way of doing it. So, Netflix started launching some of its movies in cinemas, selected places where they knew they were going to get a crowd and make money. They have managed to smooth out their offerings on their major titles, but they're also buying in major titles from not making them in-house, they're buying them in. So, Disney's going to have that problem of, they used to be able to sell, I don't know if anyone here knows it, they used to have the Vault, and when they first launched it, they called it the Vault, all the old classic animated movies, and they'd pull one or two out every year, and they'd put them on DVD and they'd sell them. And then they'd just stop. They'd shut off the run of that, and you wouldn't see them for 5 or 6 years. And then they'd get another couple out and put them up, and another couple out, and drip feed them through, selling them, and people who were new were picking them up and buying them, and same when they went to Blu-ray and then the OUHD and all the rest of it. By going to streaming, they cut that entire revenue stream off. But they had no real choice because people had stopped renting DVDs and effectively then stopped buying DVDs. So they get dragged kicking and screaming to it, but now they're trying to find a way to go back to backfilling that revenue gap. It's, they're hurting from it, but it's just the cost. The back end cost of running that service, and it's the same for all of them, is just going up every day. You think about how much energy it costs to run the server banks, how much the network distribution costs are. It's insane.
David, I know without knowing, because as the consumer, I continue every 6 months to see the price go up.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, right? Netflix is astronomically higher than when it started.
I left Netflix for that reason, man.
Yeah.
I gave up on Netflix. I gave up on Netflix because they started losing all the shows I started watching. They started just building all this bogus crap like I just don't have time for. It's like the same reason I gave up on cable. You know, and you got 40 million channels, you only got so much time in the day to watch stuff. So why you pay? If you realize how much we pay for in this day and age that we never actually use, it's crazy. So like handing out free cash, you go, what
everybody was so
what am I paying for?
Everybody was so excited.
You said that years ago, Mooch. You said
I did.
that years ago when we were first.
You remember that? I said, don't cut the cord. Everyone wants to cut the cord. Now, instead of paying the $65 or $85, whatever it was respectively for all the channels, now you're paying $7 to $15 to $20 per streaming. It's just, you're way over what we used to pay. And it's all a la carte. Now, the beautiful thing is, like David said, you can actually cancel and then resubscribe. I get it. But a lot of times, a lot of people just let it keep rolling like a gym membership. You end up paying more than you think. So it's one of those things where I'm right there with you. Like, I got rid of a lot of the streaming services. And then if I see something I like, yes, I'll grab it for a month. But I'm pretty good at putting the reminder on my phone to make sure I just cancel that when it's time to cancel that. And that's the one thing I found. You know, I said the same thing with Game Pass. I have Game Pass till I believe sometime early middle 25. That's when my 3 years is up. I literally, just before they pulled the dollar deal and pulled all that stuff, I was able to get that last deal in, got me to 25. After that, I'm going to have Xbox Live. I'll be in Noof's camp. I'll have the core, whatever they call Xbox Live Gold. Whatever Gold is now called, that's what I'll get. Core. So I'll have core for the, but I found, Noof, if I can, I'll try to get you a US code, but I don't know if it'll work in Canada. But the codes on CD keys, the CD keys codes for the US are still 60. I'll do 60, and then like David said, if a great game comes out on Xbox Game Pass day one, you just buy it for, you upgrade yourself for whatever it is that month, play the game, and then cancel that and go back to, where you were. I think that, and that's not any slight on Game Pass, but for me, who has a lot of games and always waiting for newer games, that's just the way I kind of look at Game Pass right now. Or if it's a game I really, now Jay Barry, this will make Jay Barry happy. If it's a game I really like I'm gonna buy it. Like if they come out with another Gears, if Gear 6 comes out, I'm not gonna get a month of Game Pass. I'm gonna buy Gear 6. I own all the Gears games. I'm not gonna have 1 through 5 and then rent 6. I mean, what the hell am I doing? So. Yeah, I really think that's what it comes down to. I appreciate you guys kind of humoring that subject because we see it. We sometimes tweet about it, but we don't talk about it a lot. That's the one thing I always say. We don't talk about it a lot. And I'm talking about Netflix, Disney. This isn't just a Game Pass thing, And that's why I think PS Plus is interesting. So you have to have your Essentials, which is your PS Plus, to play multiplayer games, but you don't have to have extra. You definitely don't have to have premium. I mean, if you don't want to, and it feels like PlayStation has that there for the hardcore that want it or interested in those perks. But if you're not, that's fine. Whereas Xbox, I feel like the minute you leave Game Pass, you almost leave the brand. It's weird. You know what I mean? They've kind of set it up that way.
Think about who they're targeted to, though. That's the thing here. We've been around the whole journey effectively, and we've all played all the good stuff. And think the subscription services are targeted as much to newcomers to the genre or the industry or whatnot as it is more so to them than us that have been there and want to go back for nostalgic reasons.
Right. Yeah.
I just think in the long haul that a lot of game fans have gotten so blinded by convenience and value that they haven't entirely thought through like some of the negative sides. The positives sort of are so glaringly out there at the start, but sometimes they've actually done more damage than good. And I feel like with a lot of the ways things are going, I don't think it was by design. Like, let's take some of the things that Sony has done, which have been very reactionary. I don't think that was necessarily their intention. I think it was just because they've been sort of pushed in that direction. You know what I mean? It's like they feel like, well, let's not miss the boat because they might be onto something. Yeah. But in the end, it might come back to backfire. I mean, we don't know. Game Pass could literally backfire on Xbox. But I guess when you invested this much money into that service and you're trying to convince it, because if Game Pass was the be all end all, don't you think they'd be at like 50-60 million and just climbing like crazy?
Yeah, that's yes. To answer your question, yes, I do think that they would be somewhere in that vicinity, if not higher, if it was a true success. The other thing is that unfortunately now I don't know, and I'm not going to even it's hard to say if they could actually walk back Game Pass right now. That's what I'm actually looking at next week. I think, like we already discussed this, so we're not going to discuss it again. But, of course, the Hi-Fi Rush to Sea of Thieves going to PlayStation 5, almost all but certain that's going to happen. The Starfield thing, I'll leave that as a question mark, no idea. But I'm really wondering what they're going to do with the Game Pass structure. If they're going to keep it the same way it is intact, not even bring it up, fine. Or if they're going to raise price on it, or if they're going to change their rules and have, kind of want to lean their customers into buying games again. I don't know. Maybe not. That's the business part of that meeting.
I think they are, and they already showing, scenarios of that, because you have games that now you do own, but they're still not in Game Pass.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You have games like Diablo, that's yours. Call of Duty, that's yours now. Those are not in Game Pass. So I do feel like Microsoft will turn back that. I don't think they're going to do 100%, but they will turn back on, them offering every single game that is first party on Game Pass day and date. I do think, because you have case scenarios that now that's not the case, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, Jade, I'm glad you chimed in on that, honestly, because we are going to see, and the thing is, I don't necessarily think we're going to see everything next week, Jay, because I can't remember if it was David or who said it earlier, but not necessarily sure that we're actually going to get, like, Jay, it might have been you. You said, I don't know if we're going to see a full-fledged show next week. Could be just a quick, 2 minutes, 3 minute video clip that's on Twitter, It could be that he shows up on maybe CNBC. Who knows where he's going to end up? I don't know where he's going to have this show.
I think it's going to be like a stage close type thing, but you're going to have like an article go on the Xbox Wire, because he did mention Xbox.
Right.
I think you'll find that if Satya or Amy Hood from Microsoft stand up at the front, and they front that conversation, it's not going to be a very happy conversation.
Wait, David, say that again. If you said if Amy Hood and Phil are front and center?
No, if Amy and Satya are front and center.
Oh, okay, Satya, I'm sorry.
It's not going to be a very happy conversation. I think, personally, I expect Phil to be there. He needs to front this, because this is a culmination of a lot of his decision making, and he needs to own where they currently are.
Yes.
For the good things they've done and the not so good things they've done, because he's done some good stuff. But he's had multiple opportunities and him and his team have had multiple opportunities to fix it, to sort it out, and to do better. And I know I've said it ad nauseum, but I think that they've just not met the potential with the tools and the ability and the funding backing that they've had available to them.
Yep. They've
just not met the potential, and they're not meeting the standards that are expected by the broader consumer base, which is reflective now in their key performance metrics. Now, everyone can carry on and say, it's all about engagement, it's not about console sales, it's all about player base, it's not about units sold. In the end, you've got to look at what is the dollars per share that's going to the shareholder in terms of profitability.
Yep.
And if that is negative and been negative for a long time, something's got to change. So if it's just Phil, don't expect to get any real information. He's just going to pay lip service as he should, and basically put his hand on his heart and say, we're going to do something, we're going to do better, and then leave it to others to basically fall on the sword, which should be one option. The other option is Thatcher and Amy Hood and some others from Microsoft leadership, not Xbox leadership, Microsoft leadership.
Tim Stewart.
Yep. If they front up, it's not going to be a happy conversation.
I agree with you. So here's his actual quote. We're listening and we hear you. We've been planning a business event for next week. So when he says we and not like I, like I'm going to come out and I'm going to this is we've. That's what leads me to believe maybe, David, what you're saying is true, that we may see Phil will be there. I wholeheartedly believe that. But if Satya is there, Tim or Amy, then the news is going to be a bit more. I'm just going to use the word serious. I'm not going to use the word damning. That's too strong. It's going to be a little bit more serious than, hey guys, we're going to report that we went from 25 million to 32 million subscribers on. It's not going to be that. So
look, I know I've said it a lot earlier, and I've not wanted to parade on about it. I do see this as an opportunity, and purely from a business perspective, gaming fan perspective aside, from a business perspective, this is the opportunity. They have basically set fire to their core influencer base by all this innuendo and rumor and stuff going and doing laps and not pouring water on it immediately in the background without being public, just getting in contact with them and saying, hey, look, don't overplay this. This is fine. Whatever stirred up their core influencer base has really pissed them off, and they've done nothing to try and alleviate that concern. So they've set fire to that engagement piece. They've not shown any real marketing prowess since the direct on pushing anything in through normal marketing media campaigns.
Yeah.
They have had a capitulation in some of their core sales offerings across the world, which being in the consoles and stagnation in their subscription service. They've got some bright lights there, but the bright lights that they bought in haven't translated into what they needed it to translate into. And that's out of the last quarterly report. Now, they've offloaded nearly 2,000 people now, or they've offloaded over 2,000 people now with the Toys for Bob thing, and they're starting to do a massive cost reduction activity. So it's not, sunshine and roses. It's they've set it up and not made an effort to to basically pour water on the bushfire, so to speak.
Yeah.
So if they're going to go to the point of causing that much disdain amongst their supporter base, their core hard, I don't want to use the word hardcore, but I can't think of the other word to explain it. Their hardcore supporter base,
yeah,
that are with them thick and thin and whatever, if they're going to go and set that amount of support up to be pissed off as much as they are, which they're rightly entitled to be, as you've said at the start of the show, you put a lot of time, effort, money, and passion and energy into supporting them. I can understand why they would feel aggrieved or be so pissed off as they are with the opportunity that it might just all be for naught. I don't think that's the case, but there's an opportunity here for, having done all of that bad stuff, that the pivot that they are potentially going to give us gives them the opportunity to be better and to be much better in a much better structure to ensure that they can bring their supporter base through the transition without losing too many. And yes, there'll be people upset, but it's just part of the management of change. They'll bring them through it. They'll make sure there's something there for them, and there's something there for everybody else.
Yes.
That want to be part of that that journey, and it does what the job it needs to do to ensure Xbox's survival. So it's not going to happen in a 30-minute conversation next week. But depending on who fronts up at the start of that conversation, will set the tone and will give you a good idea about what the future looks like. If it's just Phil and he shows up to say, hey, we're listening, we hear you, we'll come back at a later date, then he might as well not bother. If it's someone from Microsoft that shows up and says, hey, this is happening, then the chances of a painful yet useful transition is much more likely.
Well, I think it would definitely be. Go ahead, Noof. I do think, though, ultimately that this is going to be something. I don't think it'll become, he's going to come on there after all of this. Because if that was what it was going to be and it was just going to be a brush off and don't worry about it, he would have ended it in a tweet, David, I really think. I think he would have said, oh, don't worry about it. And they would have just either kicked the can down the road or they would have brushed it off. I really do think we're going to see something. I know everyone keeps saying it's all getting walked back. I don't think so. I don't think it's all getting walked back.
There's something's
going on
there.
Something's
there. They didn't come out and deny it. And these are big rumors. I mean, you got influencers, the community, a lot of people in it, Tizzy. There's something more to it than just a bad rumor going around, because this is the kind of stuff you want to dispel, especially if you're Microsoft, because they don't need any more bad press than they already get on a day-to-day, right? You know what I mean? So
yes.
And I was just going to say, if you look at the games industry, is not much different than any other industry other than the type of entertainment that we consume. But you got to look at it this way: look at the restaurant industry, right? Look at your fast food joints, right? They're always neck and neck, throat and throat, that sort of thing. But what do you see them do? You see restaurants adding things to the repertoire and stuff, not necessarily taking things away or changing a lot of options. Like Burger King, for example. They're not as big as McDonald's, and they're probably never going to be. But at some point, they accept where they are in the market, and they're going to do the best they can to kind of at least stay profitable and keep making money, or keep adding items to the menu and stuff like that. But they don't necessarily close everything down. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
I don't think the games industry is different. Microsoft has to understand. Look, they've already accepted 2 or 3 years ago that they're not going to sell as many consoles. So okay, we get that. But they obviously see an importance of selling consoles. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep making them. They certainly would have made an Xbox One X and then all this sort of stuff. So there has to be something there for them to keep making that. But they have to be firm where they are and know their strengths and weaknesses. And I think with these deals, sure, maybe the revenue is not there yet. But I also think 2 years of COVID really set a lot of companies behind. A lot of these deals are just fairly new. Even the Bethesda thing is still kind of new. I mean, the Starfield's the first real game that they've launched underneath since the acquisition. Well, outside of, they brought Deathloop out, but that was on PlayStation. You see what I'm saying? So Give it time to materialize. Don't throw your fans underneath the bus just yet. I'm not worried about the casual people. Look, they couldn't tell you. They couldn't take their fucking heads out of the ground. The casual crowd, like they're okay paying like $20 a month on microtransactions and stuff. They're not the same fans. I get it. They're strong in numbers, right? They're strong because they got the numbers. Like 5 million casuals spending $1 a day is probably going to be a lot more than 1,000 of us spending 100 a day. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we're the people that push the brands harder than any other. We're the people who know the difference between 1080p and 720p. We're the ones who know what 60 frames a second is versus 30 frames. We're the ones that do podcasts. We're the ones who help push new hardware. If it wasn't for us, all of these devices would be dead on arrival. You know what? Because no one would put them out there in the beginning. How does PSVR 2 gain traction? It gains it through hardcore. It's when we're the ones who buy the consoles. We're the ones who went through 6 and 7 360s because of the Red Rings of Death and still kept buying them because why? We believed in the brand, and the brand didn't give up on us. This is what I'm saying. It's more than just games. It's more than just like this is silliness. It's console war stuff. No, there's more to it. It's like a sports team. We've invested years, thousands of dollars, thousands of games. Gamers score, and now it's even worse than back in the old days because now our accounts are tied to all this. We have an account that has thousands of games now, whether it's digitally or you bought the whole collection physically. There's a lot more to it than what people are thinking about. They're narrow-minded. They got their freaking horse blinders on, and they're just like, Game Pass is great, and I don't care where you play games, and I don't care if you play Indiana Jones. As long as I got an Xbox, whether I can get it through this, and this, I'm happy. Well, you know what? That is fine for you, my friend. That is great. Mm-hmm. But there's a reason. How does Microsoft convince me to stay in the ecosystem by giving us things that you can't get anywhere else? Is the whole reason I go to McDonald's for a Big Mac. But if you want to put your Big Mac over in Burger King and you want to put it over here and you want to put it over there, well, guess what? I'm going to go to where it's convenient the most. That's the bottom line. Guess what? PlayStation's convenient. More people own one. Bottom line.
Well, that's it. If you're going to put Big Macs right into a Burger King, well, then you can close your McDonald's down. You don't have to pay all that money for the rent or the property owned, the employees, or any of the lights or anything else like that over there you're paying for. The point of the matter is, then you can just make your money off the burger and let the other place house all the other costs. Now, that's something that they could possibly do. And like I say, that's, Noof, that was a good rant. I think when it comes down to it, that's what we're going to find out next week. I mean, next week is a very telling time. I'm just curious if this allotment of time that's gone by has allowed them to kind of, as and it's not what David meant, but maybe saturate it a bit and water it down. Doesn't mean it's going to change what the actual process will be or what the actual end product will be, but it may be watered down a bit. I've got a couple of super chats here, and then I'm going to let everybody go play some video games and hang out. I really appreciate the entire crowd. Please, guys, hit the like button. Remember, guys, 3 p.m. tomorrow right now is the plan. Mooch TV over there on Twitch. We're going to be streaming Helldivers 2. I don't know why the heck I'm reading a super chat while I'm talking to this. Helldivers 2, me, J-Dub City, and others are going to be popping in. 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Shout out to the great Jimmy Harris. He says, best damn show. Good to see you, brothers. Jimmy, thanks for being here, buddy. It really means a lot. I got Raphael. Thank you for subscribing. 5RG345. Appreciate it. He also subscribed. Jeff B. Gaming. He says if Nintendo wasn't competitive with PlayStation and Xbox, why would they make Monster Hunter Rise when Monster Hunter World was on Xbox and PlayStation? That was back when we were kind of going back and forth about Nintendo. We were talking about Nintendo Brap and Jay Barry. We're doing a really good discussion on that. Shout out to Jeff B. Gaming. Appreciate it. Magnum Gaming says if Microsoft is going full third party, Sony may be eyeing Meta before they monopolize VR and go hard on AAA VR gaming. You know, that's interesting, Magnum. I that goes really with what the great Noof Nukem was talking about and saying, listen, Sony, you have something special. You know, you see Apple Vision Pro, and I know people are making all the jokes in the world. Everyone's making jokes. If I can just remind everybody of 2007 when everybody held up the first iPhone and they said, you drop it, it breaks. The Safari web browser is so slow. It has barely any apps. It's the same stuff you're hearing, but I got news for you. Whether you guys are ready for it or not, we're all going to be walking around with visors on in about 5 years. Just get ready. You heard it here first. But nonetheless, you know, I think that Sony has a VR space in the console market. Nintendo didn't go that route. Yes, they did their paper confetti version of it, but that was small and didn't really blow up into anything. Xbox isn't doing a dedicated one. Sony has this. I really think they should double down. People are okay with putting a headset on right now. The only thing you have to do is give them a great game. Give them a great game. Listen, if you don't have the first party team to do it, go buy that first party VR team and dedicate them to VR. Even if you had 2 dedicated amazing VR games a year, trust me, it will move hardware. I really, really do believe that. Shout out to Sphere. He says, you got me a sub. You got me as a sub now. Thanks, Bari. So, Bari, I'm not sure if Sphere was saying he subbed to my channel or yours, but I think he's going to yours, Jay, which rightfully so.
No, Sphere, that's my guy right there, man.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, Sphere, if you did join this channel, I appreciate that. Thank you, Sphere. Peter DeSantos has subscribed. Thank you, Peter. 7 Dragons here just now super chats. Is it true Xbox going to discontinue making Xbox Series consoles? That was something that came out, and I saw that going around. Honestly, to be honest with you, 7 Dragons, that I didn't see anything with real hardcore print on it. Do I think that they're going to just get rid of hardware altogether? I would say no. I mean, there's definitely court case findings that we saw in the FTC and the CMA that they are going to be having at least this mid-gen. It's not going to be a refresh of any kind. Maybe it is a refresh. It's not an upgrade. Same parts inside. It'll be diskless, and it will also be coming possibly with a better controller. So I don't know if they're going to get out of the hardware business. I don't think so. I really don't, 7 Dragons. I think they'll continue to have hardware as we move forward. True Witty says, Helldivers 2 is fire, but I need a squad. True Witty, meet up with me tomorrow, buddy. You already find me on PlayStation. Just hit me up, buddy, when you see I'm on there. You can always join in, True Witty. That being said, guys, let me go in reverse order and say thanks to these guys that stayed here. I went a little long tonight. I did not mean to. I really was going to make it a 2-hour podcast because we did basically almost like a 2.5, 3-hour podcast on Monday. But there's just so much to talk about. And I'll call out the guys that had to leave earlier. But the great Noof Nukem. Noof, thanks for being here, buddy. I even told you we were going to do it. I was going to wrap up the show a little bit, but I kept you here longer. You did a great rant. But Noof, do me a favor. I need you to tell your management team that you work for that you will need Thursday nights off more often. That's just the way it is. Please let them know that the Mooch is asking for your time. Noof, let them know where they can find you out there. And thanks for being on CrossFire tonight, buddy.
I appreciate you having me, Mooch. It's been too long, and I appreciate all the invites. And I always feel bad when you send one over, and I'm like, dude, I gotta work again.
You're always welcome here. You're always welcome on the show, Noof. Always.
That Eastern time zone, eh? And I'm out in the West. But but either which way, this is a fantastic podcast. Glad you let me come on and rant a little bit. Like I said, my opinions can be a bit stern at times, but it comes from a place of just a passionate fan. No more than that. I'm not right or I'm wrong no more than anybody else. It's just, when you've invested like you have, like I said, you tend to get maybe a little bit more worked up. I mean, life is life, and stuff is changing. The gaming landscape has changed exponentially. I mean, not only in just the last 10 years, but last 5 years. So, sometimes like they say, some of us are the dinosaurs. I get it, and you got to adapt, or you're going to sink. But regardless, I could go on another half an hour. Thanks for having me here. Go check out my channel. Although right now, like I said, if you didn't hear already, I've kind of basically gotten away from the podcast. I'm willing to do this kind of stuff, like guest work, whenever somebody wants me to come on and give my 2 cents worth, if it means anything. I'll be around, that sort of thing. But as far as shows, I'm done for the time being. Could be a long time. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But thanks again for having me, Mooch. To all the guys you had on the panel tonight, glad to be here with you. And hopefully we'll be back in the future, and we'll see what this week brings forth, I guess. So
it will
take care, everybody, and add me on PlayStation or Xbox. Let's go play some games.
Absolutely, Noof. Thanks for being here, buddy. The great Jay Barry, everybody. Jay, great to have you on tonight. I've kept you from video games tonight on a Thursday, pardon me. But it may be, listen, I say this all the time from New York, man. I start my weekend on Thursday nights. Even if you got to work tomorrow, you still enjoy yourself on Thursday night. We work so damn hard, Jay. We work so damn hard. Jay, I want to say thank you so much. Shout out to you and Persona for always supporting the channel. You guys do an outstanding show on Saturday mornings. Make sure you let everybody know about it. And thanks for being here tonight, Jay.
Yeah, man, appreciate the invite. It was a great conversation. The fanboy in me, Mooch. I wish this news happened back in like 2016.
I know. I know.
It was a much different time back then. But still though, man, I'm with you Xbox dudes, man. I feel it for you. Cause I'll be honest with you, if it happened with PlayStation, I'll be feeling the same way, I'll probably respond the same way. I would get my sleep though, but I'll still respond the same way.
My sleep.
But nah, man, I appreciate the invite, man. It was definitely fun. Shout out to my bro Persona, man. We host What's PlayStation podcast every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern time, man. Mooch, I appreciate the shout out. For
always.
that, I'm a type of person. I don't like to, I'm here for the conversation, man.
That's
I don't
right.
like to, take up the time and shout myself out, whatnot.
Wow.
But I do appreciate the shout out, and shout out to my bro Persona once again, man. Make sure you guys go and purchase Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. It's an amazing game. And I would love more people to get into the series because it's one of my favorite series out there. And this game is just excellent, man. I love it a lot. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. You can find me on Twitter, @jbarry_. What's up, PlayStation Podcast every Saturday. Appreciate it.
Always, Jay. Great to have you on here. And again, I'll reiterate, shout out to Persona. You guys do a great show over there. And I know that you say you don't want to take up time, Jay, but the one thing I got to tell you, man, a lot of games that you guys do your spotlight, you guys shout out people all the time. It's just a fun podcast, man. I'm not saying that because you're here. I say this on the show when you and Persona are not on the show. It's something I look forward to on Saturdays. I generally have you guys on blast on my iPad, and I'm usually grinding on some games where you got to kind of farm and do some stuff. So I'm enjoying gaming while you guys are talking gaming. So please keep doing what you're doing. I truly appreciate it, and I know that the community does too. So thanks for being here tonight, Jay. The great David Faulkner was with us tonight too. Dave, thanks for reaching out to me, by the way. That's something that I encourage. If anybody's out there, and I say this all the time, doesn't have to be somebody with a massive YouTube channel or anything. If you guys want to come on the show, you listen. All I ask is you have a good microphone because, listen, take it from me, right? My audio's not right. You guys let me know about it, and you should. You should. Shout out to Edward Jordan. He says, I got to get on the podcast. Well, Edward, hit me up on Twitter. And we'll go from there. That's how I always start it when it's a new person coming out. Thank you also, Impatient. But David, thanks for being here tonight, buddy. I know that, timing works out better for you because it is the middle of the day over there in Australia. But at the same time, you still have things to do. So, Dave, thanks for taking time out of your day. I love your insight. I love how you look at more of the systematic part of the gaming world that a lot of us miss. So thanks for dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and knowing all the ones and zeros in the formula, Dave. Let people know where they can find you, and thanks for being here tonight.
No worries. Thanks for having me. And I should just correct you slightly. I did reach out, but that was after you reached out to me.
I might have done that, Dave. You know that I always put the Mooch symbol out there weeks in advance. So thank you, Dave.
So in true Mooch fashion, because I didn't accept his request, he doesn't have to pay me for this one. It's great. Look, I appreciate, and everybody else that's already headed off. I appreciate the conversations. I do enjoy to hear the different aspects. I know not the business side's not for everyone, but happy to be able to provide some context and some perspective. If you ever need me back, if you want me to explain anything further, just hit me up.
Absolutely, buddy. You know I'm not bashful at all. Dave, thanks for being here tonight. Couple quick shout-outs. Brap had to bounce early, and he wasn't even going to make it, but he did make the show. He's great to have Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. That's Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I was on yesterday's show. Go over and check it out. Shout out to Craig, at Craig Harris. Outstanding to have him here. It's at Craig Harris, 456. Let me get it correct. Craig the tech guy. Love having Craig on the show, man. He knows his games. He knows what he's talking about, and I love hearing his takes. So shout out to Craig. He'll be on the show more and more often. Shout out to Gamers Gamut, also another gamer at heart, always out there putting a lot of posts. Go over and follow him, too. It's at Gamers Gamut. I believe it's YT. I do want to get it right. It's Gamers Gamut YT. And, of course, the great RGT85, who needs no introduction or outro. He's just that great. Outstanding guy. Been following him on YouTube for a long time. Reached out to him many years ago. Didn't think I get a response. Guy comes on. We talk all the time. We love New York Knicks basketball. I'm a Mets fan. Believe he's a Mets fan too. We never really get into that. We talk more basketball than anything else, but we talk video games even more than that. Great guy. Go over and check out RGT85. That's RGT_85 on Twitter /X, if you would, right now, and RGT85 on YouTube. Outstanding channel. You get a lot of gaming news across PlayStation, Xbox, and a ton of Switch Nintendo news, which is just phenomenal. Outstanding work on his part. So shout out to everybody that was here tonight. Really, really means the world to me. Guys, please take a second, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button on the way out. We will be live on twitch.tv, Mooch TV, tomorrow, 3 p.m., doing Helldivers 2 with J-Dub City and some special guests that are going to be popping in. Come over. It's going to be a lot of fun. Trust me, you're going to love it. A lot of laughs are going to be going on. And then we'll see you guys next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on CrossFire. Guys, enjoy your games. Play some video games. And next week's going to be a big week. Get ready. Enjoy the weekend. Peace out. Enjoy the Super Bowl.
For 49ers.